everyone, and welcome to the Yaoi Shelf. Grab a seat and relax. So, new year, new us. You may notice that our alignment, if you are video, is slightly different because Carola and I, we got talking, and I want to start with a little story. So, Carola gets lots of messages from me of my flagrant whoring online,
Lovely
uh,
story.
where I just make connections with people. And Carola, would you like to tell the audience to what level you fangirl screamed when I said that I bagged this guest?
I mean, that was many weeks ago, and I can't
It
remember
was.
anything because there's a void between Christmas and everything else. But I was very excited.
Yes.
Okay, I am a fan of today's guest.
I am also a fan of today's guest. Welcome, Ari from Queerioes, a true BL scholar, like
Yay.
one of the most talented and creative people that I've met on the hellscape that is known as Twitter. Ari, would you like to introduce yourself to our esteemed guests
Y'all
and
are so
audience?
nice. Sitting over here like, wow, this praise.
No pressure. No pressure.
Yeah, zero pressure. You're doing great.
Well, I'm some sort of back of the library cryptid who kept studying this, and the thing I like to say is anybody can study queer studies, media, history of media across borders, and combined all of them if you want.
Yeah.
I started off in completely different fields, but ultimately I took my knowledge of art history, which landed me in archives in Japan, along with my Japanese degree, and then I ended up sliding into it's coined international education. It's changed a lot in the last several years, but where I studied cross-cultural education as well as just all of cross-cultural everything, communication, and intercultural communication, which then led me down another rabbit hole of informal learning. So, and that's, there's formal learning, which is like in an institution in a classroom, and then there's informal learning, which is everything you're learning that's not in a classroom. So that's from other people, media, society, whatever.
All of our assorted weebery, essentially.
Yes.
Okay. All of our assorted weebery. Got it.
Yeah. So that's informal learning when you're watching Pokemon and Brock pulls out, I don't know this is a dub name, but Brock pulls out no, it was Ash, pulls out an onigiri, and they're like, jelly donut, and you question it. That's informal learning. So
localization.
Exactly, when you're like, oh, why is this different from how I live? And you're learning something about different culture.
Okay, I think that is the worst example, because I don't think it takes any learning to see the dissonance of here's a ball of rice and this is a donut.
7-year-old me was like, that's not a donut.
I'm not giving any credit to whatever 8-year-old me was doing, is to know the cognitive dissonance of ball of rice equal donut.
Listen, but on a technical scale, it's still learning. So that being said, even the most precious person in the world who cannot make connections can learn. So it's okay.
All of us. Yay.
Yeah, I do love this just absolutely ruthless optimism. It's like anyone can learn. Anyone.
Yes.
That's how I was before I worked my government jobs, and then I became a cynical asshole. I
mean, the government will do that. Can speak from experience. But yeah, so I'm super excited to have this host on, because this is a conversation that I think Carola and I have had in the background since we met.
Yeah.
Since we were forced together by Kasacon.
I remember that.
We actually talked about this, at least partially, for that Kasacon panel, because how can you avoid it?
Right. And at the time, I think because of like heat and like being afraid of getting canceled, I'm using air quotes, we didn't really approach that topic. But we have a guest who is a specialist in this. And with that level of expertise, Now we have the testicular fortitude. Let's go. We're killing the pig. Let's talk pro ship versus anti ship.
I just want to say, before everything gets way too heated, that Aerie is one of the voices that keeps me sane on this matter. Like,
Yes.
because it's just like there is such a, Twitter is such a train wreck, and I'm
It
like,
is.
I just want to enjoy my life, and there's so much stupidity, and then you're there with, your good takes and your good threads, and I'm like, thank God there's some sense in this world.
Absolutely. Aerie has been like a wonderful grounding force that keeps
Yeah.
me from like every time the kids upset me. Like, no, don't cancel the whole show. You've already flirted with danger once. You can go get canceled on your personal Twitter by something that isn't about guinea pigs.
I'm
I'm
thank
not
you.
even joking.
I'm glad I can be I don't know, a voice of reason / a cuddly person there to be like, it'll be okay. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah, well, and
That's what I have
especially
to
in the
tell myself.
and especially in the pro ship anti ship debate, and maybe Carola will agree with me a little bit. I'm not used to how quickly I can be gaslit on the internet.
Oh yeah, I know. That's
Like
really hard.
into like I'll get a couple of threads in and be like, huh, maybe I am the bad for wanting to see Dobby clap
No.
Hawks's cheeks.
No.
Maybe that does make me the bad. Maybe I shouldn't be sexualizing these characters. And then I'll go back and it's like, what the fuck did this kid try to say to me? Like
I am on a completely different level. No one gaslights me. I'm like, you know what? Sit your ass down. I've been here for a very long time, okay? No.
I get it completely. I've gone the thing is, you know what? Like sexuality and identity, everything is fluid. How we learn, how your psychology works, how you grow as a person, everything is fluid. I used to be that years ago. I used to be that person who would get so angry. I would just look at something somebody said and I'd be like, this is so wrong, or why are you doing this to this person? I definitely saw back in the free fandom days, I was translating. I had a friend who was running a really big Tumblr site that everybody knew that I can't remember the name of, but everybody followed it for free. And like we were around for the promos. We were like,
Oh yeah, when it was the gay swimming anime, I remember.
It was, yeah,
I
yeah.
probably followed you guys.
Probably. I went by a completely different name at the time, and I didn't realize this, but there were a lot of people following my Tumblr back in the day, because I don't know, I forgot to look at my following because I was hiding off in some like sidebar. But like I had a friend who was not a friend. I had an acquaintance who was
Are we gonna talk about that backpedal?
No, you know what? I've known her. I've known that person since I was, oh my God, a baby fandom person. I was like 14 on LiveJournal when I found that translator in the Prince of Tennis fandom.
Yep, that'll do it.
And I happened to keep running into her through all the evolutions of social media that would be on, from Tumblr, and then now she's on Twitter and Discord, and I don't follow her around as much anymore because we're not in the same fandoms. But back when it was free fandom, she's a good translator. I know her work is good, and I know she used to work, I think, for a pharmaceutical company in Japan, and then she did a bunch of other stuff. But like she's on top of it.
Yeah.
People were sending her some pretty bad threats over the fact that she had translated, some text from free, and people didn't like it because it would end up being, it went against their ship.
Right.
And it's always a ship. It's always the ship.
It's always.
And I saw just the horrendousness around the free fandom that fan translators were getting about, you translated it this way and you're a garbage translator, and you just don't like our ship, and you're misusing your translating powers and skills to put down our ship. And I was, back then I was like, I guess, I don't know, 13, 12, whenever free came out. 2012, 2013, when was that?
It was 2013, because I was in Japan. We saw the first episode of Free on TV in our hotel room.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's a cool
it was
experience.
wild.
I was broke and out of college, living at home, and I saw Makoto's back muscles, and I pledged allegiance immediately.
I just remember because I watched that promo religiously, and then when they announced that it was going to be an actual series, I was so excited. And then we were in the hotel room. It was like super late at night. It aired around midnight, I think, and I screamed. And
Because
I'm
because
sure
horny girls are up that late.
yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure
they
the
are.
entire hotel could hear us because like we were just like changing channels, and then I was like, oh my god, it's the gay swimming anime. And
That'll
it was
do it.
like, yeah, and it was plastered. You know that. I know Ari probably knows this. You know at Ikebukuro Station, the Otome Road exit that has they'll have the huge, like the panels on the walls with, whatever Fujo bait they have going.
Yeah,
And like the
yeah.
entire station was just plastered with free. I was like, I love it here.
Not whatever Fujo bait. So
My
I
friend
think.
called that the shameless selfie wall.
Oh well,
Yeah.
yeah, of
You
course
always
it
want to
is.
take. You always want.
I also just love the idea of having a Fujo bait wall. Like that does seem like something that Japan would have.
I want this.
It's everywhere.
Where's
Yeah.
my Fujo bait wall?
Where's
So,
my Fujo wall?
you know what? We need to build one in our respective nations. We need to just have like
Yeah.
a Fujo bait wall. Okay, I'll work on that. I'll work on that for the entire U.S. I guess.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, that's your job now. Congratulations. I'm gonna go.
You've been elected. Good luck.
wait,
I'm gonna
can
go
we
apply for
Fujo
some
bait?
funding.
Can we Fujo bait the Swedish Yule goat and then burn it down?
I guess
Yeah. Just like
Like,
stick some little photos in there.
it's doable. Like just plaster the side.
Instead
Yeah.
of straw, instead of hay and straw, it can just be
It
you
can just be
crumpled up.
like
printouts.
Dakimura covers. Okay, so we have jumped the shark a little bit. It's because we're having fun. We should probably define some terms.
Yeah.
What is pro ship versus anti ship? And unfortunately, because Twitter is indeed a hellscape, you have probably come across this debate in your casual browsing and not really had known at the moment that this has a name and that this has been a movement. Ari, do you want to explain to the listeners, like in a nice, educated way, what this is? Because my only definition for it is young people fuckery, and I don't think that that's a sufficient definition.
Weirdly enough, I believe I saw at some point because there are papers, and I go through. I go through not peer-reviewed articles, but articles typically from other scholarly people or students who are interested in this. Because there's not a whole lot on shipping, but there's some. That anti-shipper had been around since like the X-Files.
I can see that.
Yeah,
I can see that. Yeah.
1990s-ish. And, obviously with all these things, it's not always super common at the time, but that one came on really hard and fast.
Yeah.
So anti-shipping though was really just what it sounded like. You were anti some ship. That's what it was. And then like I don't know, ship wars looked pretty much the same for the most part until we got to 2012-ish. And I think the evolution may have been taking place before that, but it became more obvious through 2012 and then just, snowballed down a hill. It was gaining speed quickly. And that became ship wars. It went from ship wars to I need to validate my ship war. And validating ship wars went from, gaslighting people or accusing people and evolved into misusing social issues to back what you don't like.
Right.
So as you see it, like, I don't like this ship, I don't like this character because he's a trigger warning abuser, or he's a toxic person, or the the shippers are, as you've heard, pedophiles or something, like, you know, some actual social issue,
Right.
and that needs that society or people in society are trying to address, and they use it
Yeah.
as a means to validate what they don't like. But at its core, it is the same thing it's always been, which is just, you don't like that ship, you don't like that character, and anyone else who that character or that ship is about as garbage as you think the ship and the character are.
Right.
Yeah.
And so to echo that point, you know, I grew up like in ye olden days with like Zanga and Quizzilla
Oh
and
gosh,
early.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm old.
Live
Um,
Oh,
journal.
I did those too. It's
Live
okay.
journal. Like I grew up in those old days, and yeah, like we did have very aggressive shipping wars. Like I always say in every episode, and Carola gets excited when I get excited. This is rooted in combat.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have always been a warfaring people.
We really have though.
We have always been a warfaring people. That's why you have shipping manifestos. That's why you have cannons. That's why you have head cannons. Cannons protect ships. We have always been at war, but we were more at war with each other's ships, never each other.
Yeah.
There was this much greater acknowledgement that you are not attacking the person. It isn't the person who is garbage. It's the ship that's garbage.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
And to
you might
see
have
it,
not liked the person. You might have
yeah,
Oh
been
yeah.
like, meh. But but ultimately, yeah, I mean, like, it's not like you were launching a campaign against them, as is actually common now.
Yeah, and I was actually thinking about this yesterday because we
Mhm.
were watching the most recent Naruto spectacle, and you know, obviously,
Of
I was
course.
crying my way through it as I do,
Mhm.
and I was thinking because I was just screaming the entire time because Sasuke's an asshat, but I love him. Okay, I love
He's
him.
your asshat.
Yeah, and he's Naruto's asshat, and they are my OTP. And all I could think was, I am so glad that because that was that was the biggest fandom when I was actually active, back in those
Mhm.
olden days,
Mhm.
and I was just thinking, the kids today, they would never, because Sasuke would be a toxic person, and if you ship it, if you ship them, if you supported him, you would be a horrible person. And I'm like, I'm so
Mhm.
glad that you know that we got to have that to ourselves, that I don't have to deal with this on a daily basis, because this is what you see in, for instance, Hero Academia. And I was thinking about this exact thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
first of all, I will not accept the fact that like that is the one thing keeping me from like just outwardly saying I like aspects of My Hero Academia is I don't know I don't know what these kids are on. I don't know what's happening, but if I see someone advocate for Deku's rights more than actual trans people, I'm throwing hands on the internet.
But
I have
Oh,
never yes.
no, but that's the exact thing, right? And I keep saying this, that even if the character is a douchebag,
Yeah.
he's still a fictional character, and
Right.
the people who, for whatever reason, likes this person, that doesn't necessarily reflect on them, because shipping is all about dynamics.
Except for me, I am also a douchebag who likes douchebag characters.
Well, I mean, so am so am I, but like, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna sit around going, oh, okay, so Sasuke's over there trying to stage some sort of genocide. I don't necessarily support that. I don't support
Really controversial opinions over here on the Yaoi Shelf. We don't necessarily support genocide done
Okay.
by attractive
necessarily.
characters.
What
We don't.
Okay, that was horrible.
We
No,
don't
okay,
necessarily
I
support
never,
genocide.
okay, I never support genocide. but
Okay,
I
good.
don't-
Thank you for the clarification.
Scholarly opinion: genocide bad.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
no.
in these days, honestly, though.
These days the kids, they're just really, I think they like genocide too much. I mean,
Well,
look
Oh,
at
boy.
Attack on Titan. They seem really glad with the genocidal man bun.
But I'm also thinking,
Thank you for that. Thank you for
about
that,
that.
Eric.
I'm also thinking about that thing that, not to go completely off topic, but that thing that happened recently about how, if you're going to teach travesties of World War II, you're going to have to teach them in an objective way. And I'm like, no.
As someone who lives in Texas, where we were told if you teach about how the Holocaust was bad, you also have to teach that it had some okay points.
Yeah. Listen, we were occupied, okay? I disagree. I
We're Texan. We weren't involved until the last minute, but we have a lot of opinions about it.
Oh,
Yeah.
don't worry. I grew up in Georgia and I was a hellion. Like my history teachers hated me, except for one of them who wasn't actually from Georgia. He just got transplanted there, and he was like, "Oh, thank God, one of you is sane." And
Yeah, sidebar, learning like African American history in Texas
yep.
is the most cognitively dissonant thing. Like, we were never taught like the myth of the happy slave as aggressively as kids are now, but we definitely were taught the myth of the happy slave, which culminates in my least favorite book, which is called A Birthday Cake for Mr. Washington, in which George Washington's slaves bake him a birthday cake because he's such a good slave owner. And this is a book for children. This is a children's book for children that is fully illustrated, and it's about how George Washington's slaves all banded together to make him a cake. Because when he comes home, they want to give him a cake because he's such a good, chill slave owner.
That is
Oh my gosh.
something. Yeah. No.
That is something. But I love this conversation because it's something that, like, I've been struggling with a lot, because like that is the one thing that is keeping me out of just fucking saying, hey, there are some aspects of My Hero Academia that I don't think are trash. I still think most of it's trash, but like Overhaul specifically is okay. If we point the camera in the direction of Overhaul, Dobby, and Hawks, there's a triangle right there that I think is quite good. And then everything else is dumb kids doing dumb kid things.
You know what's really bad about this whole thing is that when you said Dobby and Hawks at first, my brain forgot about Dobby and My Hero Academia.
You thought Harry Potter. You thought
I was thinking about Hawks from My Hero Academia because I remembered him. Okay. And I was thinking about Dobby from Harry Potter. Okay. And I was like, so whatever floats your boat, I say go for it.
I am not that much of a deviant. There was a fanfic I read once on DeviantArt, and it was like Inuyasha and like I think it was like Inuyasha and Tsubasa that like had crossed together, and it's like, I don't even know if I could enjoy this. I just don't know how you got here. like I'm sure it's great. I just don't know what you're doing. Like, I don't understand.
There's definitely ship tags in AO3 that I'm like, you know what? I don't even know. I don't know how you got here, but I guess good for you if you're happy.
Raised eyebrow of our favorite AO3 tag. But which is and forever will be death by dragon fucking.
Oh my god.
There you go.
Death by dragon fucking is the greatest AO3 tag that is ever
I'm existed. Not even surprised by that at all. At all. Not surprised. Not the weirdest weirdest thing I've ever seen.
I'm so proud of myself for having brought this knowledge to the rest of the world. I don't even think it's that good of a fanfic, but when you have death by dragon fucking, rebirth by dragon fucking, age gap, size gap, come on, like, there's stuff that needs to be examined here.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Oh no, I was gonna say what that says to me. I got ADHD brain sent me off on tangent before I really said that the last part of my actual education, which was my introduction because I'm dumb, was that my end point was media and psychology and social behavior. And what that says to me with the dragon fucking and the stretched bodies to the limits is essentially that people want to feel so good that they don't like even recognize it anymore. Like think about that. Death by dragon fucking.
Yeah.
Okay.
I sit here and I break it down and I'm like, what does that actually look like?
Psychologically analyzing death by dragon fucking.
And yet I'm already over here doing it. Like, I'm like, that makes sense. Like, people want to feel so good that it goes beyond like your consciousness or beyond bounds or something.
It makes sense because in French, orgasm is la petite morgue, which is the little death. Like, it makes this. Yeah. Why do I still know this off the top of my head?
I started reading.
Somebody's gotta know this.
The history of hentai manga, the book that just came out, and I think it's like in the forewords they actually talk about how distorted some of this manga gets because it's just about it just gets ridiculous with, the eyes are rolling back, and it doesn't even seem like they're being pleasured anymore because it's so ridiculous. And
Right.
it's exactly what Aerie said, so it makes perfect sense when you look at it that way, even
It
if it is a
do.
dragon.
It's been around a long time.
Yeah.
When I said I
Yeah.
was in archives, I was, this little art history gremlin who is like archiving a lot of art in a
Mhm.
Japanese university. And then at the same time, like I had my own projects, so I was looking at queer presence at all in Japanese art and literature. That was like, I don't know, I usually stuck around Meiji and Edo. I didn't really go before that a whole ton, but like I did
Right.
some of that previously. But
Right.
like, I mean, they had essentially what was the eyes and the tongue lolling back, less of the
Yeah.
tongue, more of the eyes in wood blocks, and it usually involved tentacles and octopi and whatnot
Ah,
coming out of
yes,
the
the
ocean.
fisherman's wife. Yes.
Yeah, all that was super common.
And
Oh,
it goes
yeah.
really far back, and it's connected to how, unlike a lot of religions that were around at the time, that Shintoism was so open for sex that it wasn't shaming anything. It was just
I don't
very
want this to
sex
sound
positive.
bad. Shintoism is a sexy religion.
It is a very sexy religion. Cackles and Roman Catholic. Shintoism is indeed a very sexy religion.
I mean, on that point, I came across the term recovering Catholic the other day, and I thought about you.
You can just say Catholic that does a lot of anal. I have a
I
name.
love it.
Like, you don't have to say recovering Catholic. Catholic
Literally,
that does.
whatever this conversation is sending my cat into zoomies.
I can hear it, but I can't see it, and that's the best part of you being like a coalescent gender non-binary void, is that I can hear the zoomies, but I can't see the zoomies.
For all
It's
you
like-
know, it's actually Aerie doing the zoomies.
Yeah,
It's just me.
it reminds me of the glow cloud from Welcome to Night Vale when Night Vale
Oh
was
my God.
good.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. Like it reminds me of when I liked Welcome to Night Vale. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about, the start of this. And I love that you mentioned that, that ship, anti-ship has been around for a while. It is not new, but its current apotheosis is relatively new. And yes, I
Yeah.
used apotheosis because we have an educated guest and I want to use big word to look smart.
It's okay.
my God.
I had an advisor who, Carola, you said this is why, I was this like calm presence. I mean, I have a dedicated therapist, and my advisor was also a psychologist out of Stanford. Like, I've been surrounded by people who are like, calm when talking about this. And also I bring them like the craziest like PhD research suggestions, and they're just like, interesting, go for it.
Oh my God. Like I was on a K-pop chat with Dr. Thomas Bowdenet a little while ago.
Oh yeah.
And if any of y'all listen to this, I was jargon to death. I'm like, I will show you the level of education I have. I am in the presence of a god. And it's like trans-orientalism, blah, 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 cross-cultural, semi-appropriative, heteronormative. I'm just throwing out every jargon term I have. It's like, please notice me. I is smart.
I literally forget every single term I've ever learned when I'm in presence like that. But also because I had lecturers that were like, particularly my favorite professor who also supervised my BA thesis, who was like, you don't have to use all of these fancy terms and expressions.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Right.
You want people to understand what you're saying, and he was an advocate for not doing that. So I kind of.
Yeah.
I'm getting better, but like it was definitely like must impress senpai. Use every word you know. But I definitely want to get to the heart of the beast here because I think the current version of this is one, the most toxic, and two, the most perplexing because I've noticed fandoms getting toxic-er for a while.
Yeah.
As a very, very old fan, I saw it with Steven Universe. I saw it with Star Wars. Yeah, Steven Universe fandom got real
that.
toxic.
Yeah,
That one
I wasn't
turned
even
into
in it, but I remember it.
That one turned into a cesspit. Star Wars, where we literally bullied, we as in collective, not I, or any of us, frankly,
It was
bullied
just you.
people off. It was just me. I was the shirtless white man yelling at the brown people for having space swords.
Oh, jeez.
It was I. 'Twas I that set the house ablaze. I was the sweaty fat white man, just yelling at brown actors to stop being brown in my space opera for children.
Of course it was. I can
You
see
caught
it.
me after all these years. I just
We
wanted.
knew this whole
I just
time.
wanted the two brown actors to kiss. That was all I wanted. I don't care about the new trilogy. I wanted Porgs and the two brown men to kiss. That's all I cared about. Those were my priorities for new trilogy. How do I get Porgs and gay kissing?
I haven't even seen all the new ones. I've seen like one or two. And
Yeah, I didn't see the last one because of like the flashing warning I heard about, and I was like, yeah,
I heard it was pretty egregious.
I can't risk that.
Yeah, I heard it was pretty egregious. But okay. So how did we get here? Not as a species, just like when do you think that this started? When do you think that this began, Ari? Because I think I have an idea, but I'm probably wrong.
No, you're probably not. I mean, what's your idea?
I really think that, like, I think My Hero Academia started it.
I mean,
or at least the most current version, because I've seen this argument for a lot of series, but I've seen it really centralized in Bokuaka. Like, I've seen it so centralized because of characters like Endeavor and such like that it is really honed in. And the voice actors are not helping, even though they've worked for companies that did really support real abusers. Yeah. The voice actors are not helping. I will be salty about that for the rest of my life, that you have a voice actor over here. If you support this character, you support an abuser. You supported a real abuser for years.
See, this is why I don't support dubs. No, I didn't say anything.
This is why I support piracy. Steal from large companies.
No, yeah. I want to say Voltron, actually.
Oh, you think it was Voltron that started pro ship anti? Okay.
I was around for Voltron. That was
pretty gross. I
actually could tell you the whole history of it because I watched it literally happen. Oh, I knew the starting point.
That would be interesting because I've never been into Voltron, but I have some friends and some cosplay friends who were super into it, and then suddenly they just started getting like piles and piles of hatred for their cosplays because all of a sudden it's incest and I'm like, but
I just remember like it went from like everyone was talking about it to no one was talking about it.
Yeah.
It was like a light going on and off. It went from everyone was talking about it to no one was talking about it. It's like, okay.
I think it started before that. It started spiraling, and then I think it really started hitting the fan with Voltron, and then, as you say, Bokuaka has just taken it to completely new levels of hell, I think.
I'll respect that. Now, what is the correct answer, since we're probably both wrong?
It's really not a correct answer. It's really a matter of observation. And the thing is that I can't think. I was sitting here like, this is the only analogy that keeps popping into my head, but it's relevant and we'll all feel it, but it's honestly very true. Unfortunately, kind of like COVID, where you have this thing that already sort of exists and then it hits a large population and it evolves and grows and spreads. And you know how that keeps happening. It changes everything once you hit this one population and then it grows and spreads. That's essentially what happened with this sort of movement, this idea in fandom. Like, it was sort of building, but it wasn't so bad. It wasn't so many people. It wasn't catching on. And then it hits a certain fandom, a population, and it just spreads like wildfire, and it just gets going. It's like, it becomes big, it becomes relevant, everybody's doing it, everybody knows it, and then it kind of hangs out for a bit, and then hits the next big fandom, and it spreads through that one, and that's essentially how it's working. It's changed and it's evolved because it hits a population that really either knows it or is participating in it. And it also depends. There's another part of this. Fandom is not an island.
No.
We're very intra-connected, I guess you could say, but then we're also a part of larger society. And
What?
this, yeah, right. They like to exclude us, but no.
What in the name of that weird Joker movie? We're a part of a society?
Oh my god. Oh, I know what you're talking about, but I'm like, oh, what is that? No, we're a part of this larger society. So what you're seeing with this heavy use of political identity in society, you know, you're what, in your 30s?
Yeah.
30s? Yeah, okay. Yeah. I'm mid-30s. I'm 35. Surprise! The void has an age.
Am I the baby?
Are you?
I'm 31.
Carola, are you?
33.
Yeah, I'm old. Yes! Do not quote magic to me, child. No, I'm kidding.
Do not tell me the old one. I just started a new job. Sorry. But like, I'm the oldest person at my new job, basically, and it's like, I am so tired of these fetuses telling me how to do my job. But okay, that's a really, really valid point. That like, yeah, we are a part of this greater society, and it does feel like a lot of this, like, frankly, Gen Z really desire to do like identity politics.
Yeah, part of it.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
No. You are the smarter one. Go.
Oh, no. I don't want to interrupt you. I think I just have a tiny bit of lag. So I'm like, start talking. No. I'm like, wait, not done.
No. You're the smarter one. You go first.
No, I want you to have a space to say things.
It's our show. Don't worry. I'm not concerned about
that. You know, part of it, I don't, it's not somebody's fault per se. It's a lot of these, I'll say younger kids. Get off my lawn! Some of these younger people in fandom, and also some kids, like minors, but like younger people in general who are not minors, have grown up more so than we have to an extent. I think we got the tail end of it, or the tail beginning, I suppose, when all the identity politics were really ramping up, and they got full blast.
They did,
and it's hard to say your morals and your values are now very intricately tied. They've always been intricately tied, but like, this is more so. This is like, you know, when you see people who have a lot of really sort of private, I consider private, or like, you know, personal things listed on their bios of like maybe their mental health, their age, their sexuality, identity, fuck, even their address, like, you know, really personal things. It's sort of a billboard for, this is who I am, this is what I believe, these kinds of things. You see it on like Card and Linktree and all that kind of stuff. And it's sort of, it's a baby reflection of how people carry their identities and their values in society. And so they grew up full blast with this, because there are, honestly, a lot of shitty people who wear their values, beliefs, whatever, on their sleeve, and they're like, I hate people and certain groups of people, therefore, you know, and it's like, they grew up with this, so they wear what they believe, and their belief sets very strongly, and that ties very deeply in with political identity as well, and that ropes in social issues into the political identity. And so bringing that from the real world to fandom, and how normalized it is, that's when you start to see this sort of, I am very vigorously anti-ship or pro-ship, or, you know, it's very, very strong. It's almost like a Hillary Clinton bumper sticker on your car. Like,
wait, PR Amanda moment. We are not equating the presidency or candidacy of Hillary Clinton.
Oh God, no.
Just I need to make that an explicit statement, because someone will misconstrue it. We are not comparing those two or saying that they're equal. Please,
no, I just used a random politician's name.
No, you did great, but I know that there will be someone who listens and someone who clips this out of context.
Oh, God.
And it's like, no.
That is a perfect example, though, of how.
But you're right. You're right. It is, And that's something that I've definitely noticed. And, you know, when I think about, like, when we were online, we were on LiveJournal, when we were on, you know, Zanga and stuff like that, like, we did have a lot of modifiers in
Mm-hmm.
our headers, but it was like My Chemical Romance lyrics
Yeah.
and our favorite colors and, you know,
Movie quotes.
Oh my God, movie quotes from the same 5 fucking movies.
Yeah.
You know, we had a lot of signifiers in our bios, but you're right. Like, when I think about it now, these I say kids pejoratively. These youths really do. What else is it?
I know. There's really no other way to say it.
These youths, you know, they really do give away a lot of information. And it's interesting also because I think that there's a bit of, you know, again, old man yells at cloud, you know, generational tech angst about it. Because at least, like, I know when I was taught about how to use the internet from that one Static Shock episode, the way every American learned about the internet from Static Shock, the greatest American television show that taught us about
I love
rights.
Static Shock.
Static Shock was great. Don't worry. There's a whole ass episode where Static, who's a black man, invites his white gay-coded friend Richie. You know, they go to dinner together, and Richie's family is actually, like, secretly racist. And Richie's dad asked Static's dad, so what is it like being a black? And that happened on television, and a lot of, like, black children are very confused, and a lot of white children are very confused, and everyone's just very confused.
Sounds like a great way to learn.
It was an excellent way to learn about race relations in America in the 1990s and early 2000s.
Wow.
It's like when they raise the curtain on The Wizard of Oz, everyone's like, the fuck?
Right. Like, exactly. But, you know, we didn't give out info like that because we were convinced that everyone on the internet was a 50-year-old man with a van and a sack ready to kidnap us.
It's interestingly very similar to what is happening now, except they are getting in the van.
Right. Now they're getting in the van and yelling at everyone as they drive away.
Okay.
They're getting in the van. Yes.
But here's the thing.
Yes.
This.
Yes.
They're getting in the van. This leads to young people who were recently minors encouraging current minors to be the ones who get into the van to try to defeat the van driver person,
you talked
bad guy.
about this on Twitter this morning, didn't you?
It would be morning for you. Yeah, it was me all last night. Like, yeah, I'm sitting here I love that you're dying over here, man.
This is the greatest analogy I've ever heard, but it's also so absurd. It's like, it's these kids getting in the van.
And yells.
It's literally, it's a great analogy. It's what's happening.
This is the best analogy for this whole thing, but it's also just because I'm thinking of, like, the John Mulaney thing with, like, JJ Bittenbinder in Street Smarts, where it's like you punch out, you know, the rear view, like, one of the lights, and you wave to cars behind you. Like, that's what I'm imagining. Like, that level of absurd.
I mean, that's what you need to imagine. Like, white van is on fire. There's the body of a bad person inside, and you just have all these minors punching out things. It's on fire, and it's swerving through the streets like that.
Right, and they're like, but get in the van, though. This is how we defeat the van.
That's what they're doing. They're saying, hey, I was in your shoes, and this is how we defeat the van. And I'm like, this is very dangerous because you have forgotten that
the van
adults,
is bad.
The van is bad for you,
the
young people, and the adults are the ones who need to deal with the van. It is very dangerous because, like, minors get into my stuff sometimes, and I'm like, "Are you a minor?" And they're like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Okay, well, I gotta block you because, like, okay, first of all, 18 plus. Second of all, like, what you doing in here? It's like, you know, a raccoon got into the attic, and you're just like, you gotta get out, buddy."
That's honestly how I feel about every minor in an adult space. It's like they are like a raccoon in the attic. It's like, you can't be here. Like, I don't dislike you. In another life, we probably could have been friends, but you can't be here.
You gotta have shelter. I want to give you food, but maybe we can find a better place for you. Like, and I'm not responsible for that. Get the fuck out of my attic.
Okay, I hate that that's a brilliant analogy. I mean, I don't hate it because, like, I think that you're brilliant. But, like, fuck, that's an amazing analogy for it. It's like, yeah, they're They're raccoons in the attic. They don't need to be here. We don't want them there, and we've been trying to get them out, gently, but now we gotta use fire. Like,
Right,
we
you gotta
didn't
call
want
the raccoon rescue, basically. Like, we need
Right,
minor
like-
pickup service.
we didn't want to, like, smoke them out, but now we gotta smoke them out. They won't leave.
And that's the problem. You gotta put a cover over the window, which is a block, metaphorically. So, like
But,
you can't
but
get
that's brilliant. I think that's brilliant because that's exactly what it is. And that's something that, like, I talked about in the former show that, like, blows my mind. When you have minors that come into adult spaces and then yell when they see adult material. And it's like
the raccoon's mad they're in your house, and you're like,
Right.
You climbed in here.
Like, what is all this trash? No one said you could be in here. No.
Yeah.
No.
So you have raccoons, you have vans on fire, you have a lot of things
There's
that...
gonna be so many stickers from this episode. Oh my
I
god.
love this.
I'm so glad I can pad your merching.
Okay, you leave my shameless whore capitalism alone. Someone
It's
has
okay.
to pay. Someone has to pay for these expensive lights, all right?
Listen, I will give you more analogies. I will give you as many analogies. I told my partner recently that, they're from... Oh, God, this sounds so stupid. They're from northern areas. They're from New Jersey. I left at 18 and never went back, but I was from Georgia. Like, I ran screaming. And, Atlanta, great. Good people around Atlanta.
Everywhere else, fuck.
Everywhere else, garbage fire.
Yeah.
Except for, like, one weirdly liberal town, but I never was there. But, like,
Yeah.
it's like off somewhere. Anyways, I was telling my partner that I've noticed something. I give a lot of, like, I draw a lot of illustrations for people metaphorically. I give a lot of analogies, and they don't. And I said, actually, you know what? I'm pretty sure this is a Southern thing to have, like,
It is.
boatloads of analogies, and, like, because
It
I've
is.
heard a lot of other Southern people do it, and I'm like, oh, you don't lose some of your roots, I guess. But, like,
No, you don't, because
so I will
can
give you all the analogies you want.
I can verify as a North Texan Southern.
There you go. Yeah.
You do it. It's
That's
how we communicate. It's the only way we know how to communicate. We cannot tell a story that doesn't involve 15 dead family members and an animal of some kind. You snort because you know exactly what I'm talking
I
about.
do. Yeah.
That laugh is the person who understood a reference on a molecular level.
Oh my god.
But okay, I love where this is going. And so we kind of understand how we got here. We kind of understand who is at play. And I think one of the things that I wanted to really talk about is, why is this not good? Because from the outside looking in, you would think that this is okay. This is advocacy. It's these kids who, have all this Gen Z bluster.
Yeah, I love
And
that. I love advocacy, and I love that young kids always lead us. And so do POC, like people of color and women of color especially, have a
they're
history
the
of leading
future.
us.
They're the future. We should be listening to them.
Yes.
Obviously things are bad and broken. They're progressing things. But then every older Fujin, and especially older queer Fujin, which I'm trying to lead us into a conversation about sanitizing queer culture. But,
Yeah. I got you. I'm following.
Thank you. But, you have this older Fujin, especially this older queer Fujin, just like on a rock somewhere, like, fucking leave. No. Let kink be at Pride. And outside looking in, it may be hard to understand why we're over here sounding every alarm possible. We're just ringing them bells because this is bad. There is a troll in the dungeon. Mm-hmm. So why is this not great? Outside of, and I have to say this, do not fucking dox people over fictional characters. Do not throw around that they are pedos. Do not call their jobs.
Stop reporting drawings to the police because you're flooding their resources. It's bad.
Please do not call the cops on drawings.
Please don't call the cops on
like
anyone.
I will keep bringing this up.
I mean, don't call the cops on anyone, #ACAB. But but do
I was
not.
like, can I say it? I'll let Amanda say it, but I also agree with
Yeah, no,
Not that
don't
was
call the
white.
cops on anyone, ACAB, but do not call the cops on fictional characters. That is a
But
blanket
I
statement.
can't get over,
Yeah,
I can't get
exactly.
over that thing, from the I can't remember where it was. I think it was like Scotland Yard or something. They actually had a thing up on their website that was like, please stop reporting drawings to the police because you're holding up our resources.
So
And
here's
it's
the thing. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
It's
No, what's the
horrible.
thing? Mm-hmm.
The thing is I've actually, this is not official data. This is an observation. So I will say this is what I have observed.
Okay.
But the police or some sort of authority has been called or reported to a lot. We know this. We've all experienced this. But a significantly, oh my God, how are words? More. It's happened more in UK spaces. And my theory behind that is because of
they
the
have
turf
too much time on their
presence.
hands.
Was turf presence in UK because that's where some of the rhetoric comes from.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Turf is really, really big. I keep like getting really scared to say the word turf because Twitter like bans that word all the time.
Yeah.
Like I get in trouble,
Oh.
so I just start spelling it in weird ways, like
I don't give a fuck and a half.
TIRF or TRF or something. It's like they can't get me. But like never spell it with an E because they'll come for you.
Yeah, I don't give two hoots. A turf is a turf. Call a spade a spade.
A turf is a turf. I get into that that I've got to censor myself on Twitter and spell it a different way so I don't get banned from Twitter.
Yeah, luckily.
But on here, I'm like, wait, no, I'm safe. I'm good. I can say whatever.
Also keep in mind, I just said ACAB on YouTube. The amount of fucks given between hosts is very diminished.
I'm not even in your country. I'm just like.
And I
That's
love you
true.
because you do not comment often on it. If I get one more lecture from someone not even in the US, but in like another garbage pile country, frankly, like the UK, telling us about how bad we are, y'all are also bad. Everyone's bad right now.
Everyone's pretty bad. I know there's a lot of people dealing with like in the Philippines too.
Yeah, I think like only like Finland gets to have like the moral high ground right now. I think they're about it. Like no other country really has the moral high ground over us.
Of some of the Nordic fandoms. I haven't checked in with them in a long time.
I mean, you have one right there.
Hi.
I mean, I don't even actively participate in fandom because it's just okay.
It's
part
stressful
of it is
right now.
I'm exhausted, but also
This is true.
I'm exhausted because it's a garbage fire. But yeah, I think we are also seeing it more here. I think I've said this multiple times on the pod as well that a lot of this, and this is coming from from the outside perspective, that I definitely feel that a lot of this is the American perspective seeping into every corner of fandom because we can't escape it. Because if you go on the internet, if you talk, if you write in English, people are going to think that you are American because that's how it is.
American centric.
Yeah, it's incredibly US centric. And again, and I've said this before, like Norway has we're pretty open about like sexuality. I've had, again, I don't discuss with people on the internet, but I've had discussions with people where they've been like, oh, sexual content featuring American minors. Keep that in mind, right? Because not all countries have the same age. In Japan, you're not an adult until you're 20. And in Norway, you're not an adult until you're 18 either. But our legal age for sex is 16, so it's perfectly normal here to see a lot of sexual content featuring teenagers. And then you will have a conversation with someone who's in a different country, who is in the US, and they'll be like, "This is pedophilia," and I'm like, "Excuse me, this is from I'm from a country where this is." And they're like, no, but they're not 18, so it's still wrong. And I'm like, okay, that's...
But it's also like, sorry, speaking as an American, but also as a Texan, we have a Romeo and Juliet clause.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like we don't have
older minors, basically, or younger minors, or whatever it is. I can't remember.
But like, we don't have a leg to stand on in that. Child marriage is still legal in a shocking amount of states.
Yeah.
Like that's the issue, because it'd be one thing, and this is also what I'd love to bring up about this conversation, like pro-ship, anti-ship, with making it about this like identity politics thing, is that you're usually saying it at people who are genuinely affected by these concerns. that who are genuinely affected by worries about sexual assault, who are worried about transphobia, who are
Who may be
worried
living
about,
it.
who may be fucking living it, who may
Yeah.
be survivors of it,
Yeah.
who use fic and kink to work through it, cough, the writer's barely disguised fetish. You know, you're yelling at the people who are most affected by it
Mm-hmm.
when we don't have a leg to fucking stand on. I don't want to think about how many states in the US still allow child marriage. Like actual child marriage. Not a euphemism, not a joke. This is a thing. And I think that's where I get so frustrated that I can't even have a conversation about it, is that it dilutes the conversation away from actual concerns.
Yeah, but it's the same thing as, you know, going back to the whole sanitizing LGBTQ plus spaces. It's the same
Mm-hmm.
thing as, you know, trying to talk about trans people and how hard it is to just get basic rights, and all,
Mm-hmm.
you know, all the media and all the public wants to talk about is the goddamn, you know, bathroom debate.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
the same thing.
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, and I mean, what's bad about it? A lot.
Yeah.
You know, it's you ever, you know, oh god, here's another analogy. I hope you're ready.
Ready.
Bring it.
You know, you have a junk box.
Yes.
Yeah, you have a
I have
junk
several.
box.
I have several. Yeah.
I've been. I thought I had been very good, but I'm like, no, we have a junk box.
We all do.
We all do.
We all do. We have a junk box. Okay,
Mhm.
well, we just all got on social media and collectively dumped our junk boxes into the same pile, and now half of us are like, well, fuck it, it's gone, and half of us are like, oh, I still gotta find my stuff in the junk pile, and it's like this multi-billion people involved junk
could see that.
pile. And that's what's so bad is to say that we have intersecting issues. Yeah, that's obvious. Look at all the junk in the pile. Look at all the people involved, and you're throwing them all together in one space. And
Mhm.
that's why this is so bad. There's so many issues. There's so many different things going on. There's anti-sex, anti-women, homophobia, transphobia, racism.
Mhm.
There's a whole bunch more that I can't even name because,
And the
you know,
ableism.
what's sleep?
Oh, the
Ableism. That's another
ableism.
one. You know,
Right.
I just saw, you know, and we've all seen this, but like, it's from everywhere. White trans person telling other white trans person that they're not trans enough and saying, look at the cis girl trying to be trans. Like, it's just constant queer on queer crime. And then there's the racism, and it's rampant everything. It's just absolutely,
It is.
you
It
know, the
is.
Mean Girls scene.
It is. And I hate that. I hate that about these spaces that we devolve into infighting every time. You know, I hate that so much, but I think what's especially dangerous about this particular iteration of pro-ship, anti-ship, is that it's affecting real media.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what was that whole fallout with Seven Seas over the weekend where it's like, we're censoring this whole ass thing?
Yeah.
Wait, was that Seven Seas? Because I was thinking of the, you know, the Animate International debacle.
It was Anime International, I'm sorry.
Animate
Okay.
International.
Seven Seas did fine, it was Anime International, I misspoke. But yeah, like,
Yeah.
it's like, we're gonna censor this whole ass thing because we are afraid of backlash. They basically said, we are afraid of what the children will say.
Yeah.
And they were like, because they were talking about their terms of, what was it, terms of content or whatever, and they didn't want to disclose what those were. I've read the manga in question. I don't see the problem.
I've not read it, so I'm not sure. I just know that they took out the volume.
No, it's basically it's like it's there's like a demon who lives in a forest and supposedly steals kids. Like, you know,
Rip.
children go wandering into into the forest, and then the you know, the demon takes them. And then there's this, which sounds bad, but it's
Yeah, I'm like,
I'm thinking about that white van again.
yeah, the van's rolling around, it's pulling up.
But it kind of sounds like, you know, that's kind of like the premise. It sounds like one of those typical fairy tales. You're like, don't go into the forest because the demon.
Right.
And then there's this, you know, you see this boy who lives with this demon or this magician that he's been raised by, and you kind of see him in different stages of his life. And turns out he was one of the kids who, wandered into the forest, and now he's a grown man and he has a relationship with the demon. So it's one of those, but it's done really like it isn't explicit. It's not. I mean, and when I say that, like, you can't see any genitals. There is sex, but it isn't. It has like a plot twist. I don't want to give away the twist because it's actually quite a sad and quite lovely story. But I think that if your head is screwed on right and you read this, I don't think that you could read. You shouldn't be reading into it as being pro child abduction or pro whatever. I don't.
No, what I'm hearing is that I should be doing more grooming of children.
I'm just saying. Yes, of course.
God.
That van.
You have a cat.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sansa, I don't like that. That's what summoned you. We're
Yeah,
not talking about grooming of cats.
I was talking about demons.
Now we know where the demon lives.
There he is.
Yeah, now we know where the demon lives.
No.
Yeah,
but
sounds like that van's revving up.
Yeah, but the point is, I've seen manga, licensed in English, published in English, that has things that are a lot more concerning than this particular story. And
Twittering birds never fly.
And I was gonna say Loveless.
Yo, yeah, that's an interesting one.
Because but I just feel like there's nothing in this really that is worse than anything. That just thinking about there was a Kuma Pub title that came out, I think, like last year, that had some really like Shota-esque characters in it. I can't remember what it was called. And I mean, I felt like that, no one really reacted to that, so I don't see why. And especially because it's anime, like we know what the Japanese stores are selling. Why are you censoring yourself for the American market or for the international market?
I really think it all falls down to they don't want to be canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah, and canceling is a very aggressive force.
Yeah, it is. I'm still, with the demon story, I'm kind of like, it's not the first time I've heard of a story like that, honestly, coming out of Japanese media. There's always been a lot of demons.
And what's so shocking to me is, like, and I think this is also something that frustrates me a lot, is, like, Ancient Magus's Bride.
Yeah.
No one raised any shit about that. And I had serious issues with that kind of story because, like, that's just not a storyline that I like in anything. That is just not, like, it has nothing to do with straight or not. I don't like that kind of storyline ever. I think I have major issues with agency in that, and regardless. But, like, no one was over here clattering, pitchforks for that one. It was fine. It seems like it's really, really localized in, to be very, very frank, things that give women pleasure, like yaoi.
Yeah, if you think about, if you just break it down to just facts, what audiences are usually the target audiences of the stories that are being most criticized? There's either things that, why are my cats fighting? Okay, anyways.
The question that every cat owner asks, why are my cats fighting?
Like, my little voids are fighting. Anyways, but like, women, in Japan, because they don't, they have binary sides of the survey. They don't have in between. They just have women or men on their surveys typically for publishers. So that's why I'm speaking that way. But like, a women's audience, or, then there's the men's audience. And so I'm sitting here like, okay, well, the ones that we keep seeing criticized are the ones meant for the women's audience. Now, you do hear about general criticism about Shota, lolly kind of things. But they also tend to be titles that women enjoy, not men. I almost never hear any specific titles that men enjoy brought to light, almost ever. It's always something that there's a women audience for. Yeah. So I think that also has something to do with it.
And that's true for I think for honestly a lot of media. I did a panel a few years ago about the Mary Sue trope, shameless plug.
Right.
And I said, the Mary Sue's considered a character, that just fits in. She knows everything. She's hyper competent. why does this sound really familiar? And my next slide is like all these shonen males.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, because we've done this. We keep doing it. And no one says anything when it's Yusuke Urameshi or Goku, but we say it when it's young women trying to find themselves in particularly sexist and harmful media and trying to write themselves in a place of power when they are powerless in their own society.
Mm-hmm.
We have a problem with that. Okay. Pop off, I guess. You know? Pop off, I guess. Like, if this is your hill. But you're right. Like, it seems to be very directly pointed at queer people and women. And what I've seen it especially is at older fans. There was this is apocryphal, of course, but I remember seeing this in the Bokuaka Twitter where an older woman got a tattoo like inspired by Kirishima
Oh
because she
god.
really liked his character. And they called her job and said that she was a pedophile.
Okay.
Right, it's like, of course, fired, life ruined, but like, I think it also
Jeez.
ties into this sort of like existential angst of like, were we supposed to grow out of being gay and fans? Are we supposed to not be in these spaces anymore, even though historically it's been older fans that make these spaces? Because I promise you, if you go point in the direction of AO3, it is not 16-year-olds with too much time on their hands that are making fanfic.
I mean, let's play with that idea. Let's say
Let's
all
play.
the old fans leave.
We all
Okay,
go
we'll
to
guess-
Old Weeb Island.
We go to Weeb Island. You know, we go to retire and
Yes.
at 30. And
Well, I mean, we're supposed to be dead by 30.
Yeah,
Yeah,
realistically, we're
yeah.
supposed to be dead, but you know
the
it's
number of kids I've had more than one, and that's one too many, who
yes.
told me that they were surprised I was still alive at 30
Oh my
because they did not intend to be.
I mean, TBH, yeah, like for similar bridge reasons, I am surprised that I'm here this long.
Yeah, like I was just kind of like,
Yeah.
what is yeah. But like, you know, let's play with that idea. If we did leave, well, guess who's gonna be told to leave next? That would be the creators, the actors, the people who actually produce this content, because
They're old.
a lot of them are not in their mid-30s. They got 40s, 50s,
Yeah.
60s.
Yeah, the guy who voices Victor from Yuri on Ice in English is not a banging Russian twink.
No,
That
he's
is a balding
zaddy.
old white man.
Yeah, and again,
Oh,
know,
you okay? I was
again,
talking about the Japanese one.
Oh no, I said American. That English VA is the same guy that I think voices Vegeta. He is a balding old white man. He is not a banging Russian twink.
But again, you know, not only, you know, the creators and, you know, who do you think makes this for you, but also who keeps fandom afloat? The adult fans. Because if you are, you know, in your teens, you live at home, you don't have any income, you know, you can't afford
That too.
supporting the creators. Like I went to, when I was in Japan last year, I was able to go right before the pandemic hit, and we went to 3 concerts, and we had like VIP tickets. They were, I don't even want to talk about how expensive they were. But all
We
the
know it's okay.
people-
Yeah.
all the people who had tickets for the first 10 rows, which were the diamond seats, were all like women mostly who were in their 50s. Like
Yeah.
they were old, like they were aunties, because they are the ones keeping, you know, the idol industry afloat, and they're the ones keeping, you know, this type of industry afloat, because they have the money to spare, and they can afford just spending money on themselves.
Yeah. This reminds me a lot of this was pretty uniquely American, but you probably can understand it a little bit, Carola, was like the Twilight moms.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like the older sect of women that just really found themselves in Twilight, because, you know, it's a gross Mary Sue self-insert story about a hot immortal who cares about one person entirely too much.
I'm having
You know,
flashbacks to this Oprah episode they did on Twilight Moms.
Oh my god.
oh,
I would
God.
love to see that.
We'll have to dig it. You know what? We'll I'll see if I can throw it up in the Discord, because I feel like we can hunt that down. But yeah, like it reminds me of like the Twilight moms and like how people, I think they got it at the end. I'm using air quotes if you are listener only. I think they understood it then, but it was also like mostly upper middle class white women, so they had to understand it. I'm pretty sure if it was like Black or Asian women, it'd still be like, look at them whores. Look at them old whores.
I was really, really late to Twilight. Like,
I was never
we
into
started-
Twilight.
I was never
I wasn't. I'm not really in the fandom, but I am. You know what? Maybe it's the whole like media psychology thing, but like I'm obsessed watching it sometimes because I'm like, that's a red flag.
You know what? I'm lying. My former best friend was super into Twilight. Went to the midnight releasing of like I think it was like one of the last books, and it was Twilight prom themed. And he took me to Twilight prom at Barnes and Nobles in the mall.
Oh my god.
It's like 11:50 at night, and all of these like junior high kids are there, like junior high and high school. We're like in our first, second year of college. And I'm miserable. I look great, but I'm miserable. I look great. I'm upset. And this little kid walks up to me. He's like, oh my God, are you the Bella to his Edward? And I looked at them and said, for $5, you can have him. For $5, you can keep him. I don't care. No.
Oh my god.
But I think that, Twilight, that's actually interesting because we've talked a little bit about how I am a hypocrite because I
Yes, we have. We have. Yes.
No, okay, because I now, I'm old, I'm tired, and I am much more open to things now. I'm much more,
Mhm.
like I have multiple ships now, whereas before I'd be like, no, it's these two, and I don't want to see any other constellations because it makes
This
me
is true.
sad.
This is true.
Yeah, but I remember because I really really do not like Twilight, and I really don't like it because when it comes. Okay, first of all, I had a problem with the sparkling vampires. I want my vampires to die in sunlight.
You want non-sparkly vampire?
I want Spike from Buffy. That's what I want.
I was about to say.
Oh.
I feel like I know what you want, and it
Yeah.
is not. Yeah, it is definitely not Edward Cullen.
No, I want Spike. Anyway, so I want them to be snarky and British and drinking pig's blood out of a commercial mug. But the Twilight thing was, because that's when I started becoming aware of, red flags in fiction, and also
Mhm.
because, Stephanie Meyer there were a lot of things there.
Yeah, that's a big reason why I watch it is to like I comment a lot on Stephanie Meyer's intentions and
Mhm.
also how she had said in an interview that Bella's basically supposed to be her to a degree.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, to me, God, Twilight's gonna come after me. To me, Bella's
I'll protect you,
racist.
don't worry.
Yeah.
She is.
Bella's racist
But it
because
is-
she chose the entitled, rich, immortal white man over the poor, rich, brown native.
Who, of course,
Guy.
whose last name was Black, just to...
Yeah. It's
Cover
just,
it.
there's layers.
But yeah, we were actually reading, there was a website called Mark Reads Twilight, and so I've never read the books. I've just read this guy, Mark, summarizing chapter by chapter how horrible everything is. But I was
It's pretty trash.
yeah, and I was really vehemently anti-Twilight because,
Mhm.
I essentially see a lot of, the kids of today in myself at that time because I was like, this is so harmful. But it was harmful on a different level because people were romanticizing, the stalking and the gaslighting and all of these red flags that, courtesy of Edward particularly. And they were like, oh, this is so romantic. And it was being sold to young girls and also, 50 Shades of Grey selling non-con to housewives and disguising it as...
And also just
romance.
bad anal.
Yeah.
Just bad. Just
I
very
wouldn't know.
bad depictions of anal. Also, there's a line in Grey, which is 50 Shades of Grey fanfic written by the author. It's Dojin, from Christian's perspective, in which he puts a piece of peeled ginger in a girl's ass. Don't do that.
Great.
Don't put
No,
peeled ginger in women's asses.
Peeled
no,
ginger.
use corn. It needs
I just-
to be a...
Corn.
just-
Carola, don't do this to me.
We're not going back there.
But
I
also,
didn't
like,
say-
You say spice, you say ginger, peeled ginger, and like
Yeah.
immediately the TikTok comes up to me, like, because I've been on TikTok all this year. Is
TikTok is amazing.
the why is it spicy kind of thing.
That's literally what what it is. Also, in that book, he says, "I'm gonna make you come like a freight train." And it's like, so heavy
my
but
God.
late, rumbling and inefficient.
Never.
This is an entirely American centric view because these
Yeah.
are our freight trains.
Yeah, these are American freight trains. These lumbering titans that are always like graffitied and probably have like 5 homeless men inside of them. Like, what are you talking about? Anyways, I love this conversation so much. I'm sorry. I'm fangirling in a way that I have not fangirled in a while. Yes.
No, I don't know if I had a point to this, but yeah. But
I'm
the
sorry.
point is,
No.
I
What is point?
I have no point, but I mean, my point is, that obviously, to a certain extent, fiction does affect reality.
Of course it does.
But it's all
We've
about
always said
how the context and what that effect is, because
for sure.
I'm not saying that it's inherently damaging to read Twilight, but it's just the way that it was presented. I had a problem with the way that it was presented, and I think that is similar but different to what we're seeing today, where the whole pro-ship anti-ship movement is. I mean, just the fact that the term pro-shipper, which literally means that it's like what we argue on this show all the time, because we never have the same ship, we never agree on anything. No,
we do not.
and it's like, but you're entitled to your wrong opinion, and
you are also entitled to your wrong opinion.
Like, that's the thing, you look at us, we can sit here and poop on Twilight because there's some things that need to be addressed, but like we'll sit here and say, but like I've watched it too many times because, one, I'm a sucker for Pacific Northwest, and two, like you
just want that green foliage porn.
I want the what?
You want that green foliage porn?
I really do. Like, that is my plan in life. My plan in life is to like haunt some forest. Like, I'm gonna go.
Okay. So I was waiting for you to say like own a cabin. I was waiting for like something like present tense. Nah, you went full. I would love to be a ghost in a nice tree.
So
like
the reason I don't like Twilight, you're telling me, is because they moved to Forks, which is the rainiest place in America, and I was like, listen, I have enough forest and rain. Thank you very much.
That's the reason. But I think to kind of put a bow on this, I think for me, and you guys may echo this point, please tell me if I'm wrong, I think that's been the most frustrating aspect of this debate, is it feels like it's grasping at something valid. Like, I know I can say, as a fan that was in a lot of these spaces in like the halcyon Old West days, that it was not great. There may not have been an influx of men in vans, but there were definitely men in vans. Yeah. Like, I don't think it was to the level that children think it was, or that like our parents did back in the day, but there were definitely men in vans. Were there definitely things that happened to me in fan spaces that I would look at more harshly now? Absolutely. Are there things about fandom that are not great? Yes. But this is not the way to get those points across. Doxing people and using hate speech and trying to overly sanitize adult spaces that you are not supposed to be in. And I acknowledge that I benefited from being in those spaces when I shouldn't have been.
Yeah,
I'm fully acknowledging
one of the
that.
Children who's
it's my old YouTube will forever have my age wrong, because I just made it whatever birthday I needed to be old enough to watch AMVs. Whatever I needed to do to watch the same Linkin Park song to Sasunaru, I did it.
But I think we've all been there, and I don't think that there is anything necessarily wrong with it, because it's a natural, you're curious and you want to enjoy the things and you want to see your ship sailing. It's just,
I'm gonna slightly disagree, but no, go ahead, Ari.
Oh, I was gonna say, nothing is binary. Nothing.
Neither am I.
Nothing here is binary.
That void again.
There's that void again.
Like, I'm sucking y'all into the void. Nothing is binary. Nothing. And I mean, like, you can say, oh, killing is binary. Yes, it is. but why did the killing occur? Was it an accidental manslaughter? Was it intended, intentional? You know, there is always more information, and what we desperately need is critical thinking, in addition to boundaries. These are the two things that I preach. Our boundaries are God, and critical thinking, because you sit here, and what I was saying was, like, we can sit here and poop on Twilight and criticize it, legitimately criticize Stephanie Meyer's intentions, because she had some bad ones.
She did.
You know, so let me not use bad. She had some intentions that have repercussions for people who are not as privileged as her.
Right. And I also don't like that she gave no money to the one tribe that she depicted, and they have to have like a personalized person to say, hey, we're not werewolves. Like, they had to elect like a PR person to educate people to say that we're not werewolves.
Yeah.
That's a conversation at all.
Yeah, like, but then there's what we do. A lot of people, younger people who are around anti-shipping currently, or you know, are anti-shipping currently, think that we don't criticize media at all. They think that we're just, like, you know, unconditionally in love with all BL, and the thing is they're missing when we're talking about, you know, oh, that was a really bad representation, or ooh, that was particularly unnecessarily graphic, or what was with this, what was with this plot device using, you know, something violent against women or men as a plot device, or what was this portrayal, or, you know, self-lubricating assholes. We gotta always put that in here. And you know, I'm like, when I hear self-lubricating assholes, I'm like, that person has IBS. Like, no, but
I can't see. Oh my god. You are not wrong, and I'm not happy about it.
Like, you know, I just sit here. We do. I choked
Please
myself.
Don't die.
I'm dying.
Like
the void is dying.
Not like this. Not on our show.
God damn it, about the void.
And the void's time has come. No, but like, we do criticize things. We do criticize things.
Yeah.
We also talk about media and how it does create or results from current situations in society. We talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
But there are these sort of, there are these perspectives that we just, you know, and I think it's quite stubborn. I think it's stubborn. I think half the time I think people are, you know, intentionally lying, that they don't think we criticize anything, because it's, the purpose is more to be antagonistic. And I think I said this in a tweet recently, where a lot of presence on social media in these spaces is, it's more of to release pressure and emotional stress, and thus people are more prone towards that unwillingness to actually have a conversation. They're not there to have a conversation. They're there to temporarily feel better. So like they want to stir the pot. They want to be antagonistic and some things like that. And then there are people who are genuinely confused and you know, they may think they're not confused, but they haven't really questioned why they have that perspective. If you need to sit down and you question, why do I have this perspective? How did it form? And where did it come from? Where did it originate? Where did I learn this? And why do I believe this? And that's just called self-awareness, which everybody
and a lot of these kids don't have. But I really want to zoom in on this point, you know, as we kind of wrap this up, that you said, where it's a lot of self-over-identification. And I noticed that again, to be a tsundere about Bokuwaka. I think that is where a lot of the Deku stuff comes from, is a lot of these kids are just over inserting themselves. There is a Deku xenogender.
A what?
They made up like
her gender,
a
but
gender
then I was
sort of,
like, wait.
Yeah, they made a Deku like xenogender, like a new gender that you can Deku gender yourself. Is
that like Ken? Do you remember?
Yeah,
Ken?
But more aggressive.
Interesting.
It's more aggressive than Kenning.
One of the things I heard about on TikTok was whatever this new form, I can't remember what they called it, I'm so old, the new form of astral projection or whatever, but Did you hear? Oh my God. Okay. So, I can't remember what it's called. This is gonna kill me. It's they're using some new word now, and it's basically what it is they think they are astral projecting into the whatever world of their comfort character and living there for days, months, hours at a time. And yeah, exactly. I remember this was sort of a thing, but we called it astral projection back when we were, the youngins. But I don't think it was this
No. We
level.
called it a hallucination.
Our,
No. We did not call it astral projection.
What?
We called it disassociating.
This is
Call a spade a spade. If you were listener only, I apologize that you guys could not hear that judgmental black auntie head tilt.
yeah, no, it was full on.
That just Tyler Perry movie judgmental auntie head tilt.
I was like, don't tip your chair back.
It can't. It's too expensive. This chair costs a lot of money to keep me firmly in one place.
This is
Okay.
really important. Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say this is really important, but it seems, I'm sure you've heard of parasocial interaction and parasocial relationships.
It's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, I'm so glad because I don't know when people started catching on to it, but that was literally a large part of my PhD work. And I say PhD, I'm not a doctor. I was a PhD dropout because of a happening with the university and,
You have
women
a PhD
and
in our heart.
I have a PhD in my heart. I did the work, but
Not the
some of us
work,
left
not
because of
doing
a white man. But
Yeah,
like,
well, you know what? I'll design you a special honorary doctorate on behalf of the Yaoi Shelf. How does that sound?
I'm just Dr. Void, and
Yeah, I'll design you a nice honorary PhD. How does that
but
sound?
like, I love it. I'll get my PhD from Yaoi Shelf, the School of Yaoi Shelf.
Yes.
And like, but I did this work with the psychologist who was my advisor with parasocial interaction, and I did it specifically in this realm of media. And I talked about some other ones, but I was really honed in on this one, and how much it's intensified. And really, there was no. There were no statistics as to why. This is just it's more qualitative than anything, but because you're really just interviewing. But it really boils down to social media, immersion, finding identity again within these characters. But the parasocial is just unparalleled now. Now, parasocial is not a bad thing initially.
No,
like
it is not inherently negative.
I have parasocial relationships with character, not relationships, interactions with character, where like your favorite character dies and you are just depressed and you're like, oh no, that's parasocial, and it's where this, for anyone listening, I guess parasocial interactions, parasocial relationships are where you have this emotional investment in an entity, in our case, fictional, non-real people, characters. Yes. But the overall definition is an emotional investment in someone who doesn't know you exist. So where it really sort of originated was with like fans of celebrities. They don't know you exist personally. They're not in a relationship with you, but you feel very emotionally tied to them. And
like how everyone feels about Henry Cavill's ass.
Yeah.
Like everyone feels about Henry Cavill's ass, just his ass. It's a good ass. But I don't know. There's something about that definition of parasocial that like hurt my gut a little bit. Like, who don't know you exist? Like, rude. I know.
I know. I'm sorry.
Like I know that they don't know I exist, but rude. It also reminds me of not to beleaguer the point, but a lot of the supernatural drama that happened where we thought that Jensen Ackles was homophobic because he didn't do Destiel.
Yeah. I mean,
again, like I'm saying, we as a fandom, I was not in that category trying to get Jensen Ackles, real human married actor, to sign my fucking hentai Bible. Don't do weird stuff with voice actors, please, or regular actors. Your voice actors do not care about your fanfic. They will not voice your porn.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them might, but most of them will not voice your porn.
Exactly. and parasocial, I can't actually remember when I'm trying to think of when the history of it sort of was starting to pop up. I'm pretty sure it was either late 80s or 90s when it was popping up, that people were starting to use that term. I think because, well, it was because of fandom, and really what was easiest for researchers to hone in on was people who were fans of celebrities. That was easiest because media is just sort of constantly swaying. So like, you know, there was some obviously with Star Trek, but I don't think they were Star Trek, celebrities, and D&D are kind of where a lot of this OG media research sort of started that we're dealing with currently. Obviously, there was stuff before that, but yeah. But
there was media before Star Trek. Yes.
yes, there was heavily so. Yes,
yes.
But the parasocial stuff, I think they started to be like, and they started to study it around then. But I think it sort of started to pop up. I think it became quite popular in the 90s, but it didn't really go any further because people are like, what are you talking about? And then it was the early 2000s that it just exploded in research. And then for me, I really didn't start seeing it in fandom until maybe like a year or two ago, around the time I was also tweeting about it. So I don't know, maybe there's like other scholars in there also tweeting about it. But I remember some of my first parasocial tweets were about banana fish. Because trauma.
No.
But you know, the thing is that plays such an important part, but there's different levels of parasocial. And you know, we can have, I think older people, older fans have a lesser level of parasocial because we just had less exposure and less immersion, to a degree, where when you live on the internet, it's basically, what do I want to call this? The Matrix? It's basically the Matrix. Like they're in there and they're not coming out. And us, we've taken the pills and we occasionally like revisit the Matrix. Like that's about where we are.
Okay, because I was about to say I want to agree with you, but like I mean, I don't want to quote Great Gatsby, but like we turned out okay in the end. I mean, he's dead. He's floating in a pool. I never understood that opening line. I know it's supposed to be ironic, but it's like Gatsby. He turned out all right in the end. He's dead.
But that's he escaped. That's why he's okay.
Yeah, he got out of it by death, by being murdered. But like, spoiler alert for the Great Gatsby.
Well, there's really just not a way to say we know how this is going to turn out because we're still in the middle of this sort of happening.
We're still in the middle of this muck. And but yeah, like I was thinking about that when you said it, that it's like, because I think we make it an age thing because it does seem to be an age thing. Like we're not making it an age thing just because. Yeah, like we're not making this an age thing because we're ageist. Like there are definitely cool younger fans. Absolutely. Yeah. There are definitely rancid older fans.
Yes.
But like
that you have to watch out for.
Yeah, those are the sleeper cells. They'll fucking get you. But it really does seem to be like a very clear Sharks versus Jets, us and them, that you have the older fans on one side of the field and you have the younger fans on the other side of the field. But instead of meeting in the middle, the younger fans are just threatening our jobs and stuff, and we're just trying to fucking live.
I think it's so sad. And I've said this before because I really hate the whole us and them thing. Because, as an adult in fandom, as someone who's been here, like I've been in fandom since I was 11 years old, okay? When the internet was young. And we had dial-up internet. And I just, one of my favorite things now is that as an adult, I get to do all these cool things, right? I'm a convention organizer, I'm a panelist, I do this podcast, I write.
We have money to buy merch.
We have so much money to buy merch.
And I get to do this, and I get to immerse myself in the things that I've always loved. And I love seeing, especially, because I am in Norway, and like I've said, we are incredibly small. Like, we didn't, I know I've said this, but whenever you talk about, your fandom experiences in your teens, and your convention experiences, we didn't have conventions. And
right.
I
didn't go to a convention until I was in college.
And we didn't have them in Norway until like 2000.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, so I feel so privileged to have been part of this growth and to see it grow, and that I get to see all of these, seeing the young ones grow up, and seeing people who I remember from the early days of fandom who are now bringing their kids to the convention that I am organizing, and I absolutely love it. And I think it's so sad
Right.
that it's become so violently such
Yeah.
negative spaces, because it's such a great, it's such a great space to be in. Fandom is,
Absolutely. And
it's supposed to be
for
fun, and it makes me sad.
well, and for me also, and Ari, you can probably speak to this as well, is that we needed our fandom elders back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had the seed files. They knew the translation websites. They had that one friend who was living in Japan who would bring you your boys kissing comic books because we didn't have subscription boxes and we
They were
didn't have
seeding the torrents.
yeah, they had our seeds. They had we needed our elders because they were doing the stuff. Like we did not have
They were the ones
access
who
to
knew
that.
Japanese, who were,
Yeah.
They were the
pirating
ones
for
who
us.
knew fucking Japanese and were like, "You fucking idiot child, let me fix this for you." We needed that, and go
a
ahead.
large part of the age thing, though, I don't like the us versus them, because I really believe, in the younger generations quite a bit, because they're our future. But why there's such sort of this divide also is because we're talking 18 plus on a lot of stuff. That ends up being a natural divide, because if you're a minor and you're like, "Aha, I'm in here in the 18 plus, look at me," with a megaphone, I'm be like, "What are you doing, buddy? Like, you need to get out."
Right.
Whereas we
But-
were like, I hope they won't find me. I hope they won't kick me out. I'm just
Exactly.
Yeah, we
Like-
were very lurky.
Yeah, we mentioned that in when we talked about some of this stuff in the old show, where we made an analogy to Blockbuster, that and again, this is very American centric, I apologize, but Blockbuster or your Suncoast, they usually have an 18 plus section of all the porn. And
I know Blockbusters.
okay, so if you were a kid and you got into that, and that shit was like Fort Knox, that 18 plus
Yeah.
section of Blockbuster, that was X Games mode. You
Huh.
were not getting there. Whatever
Hot.
one employee was working at Blockbuster, their job was to keep children out of that zone.
Yeah.
So
I've got another analogy for you.
So it's like, if you got into that zone, the last thing you're gonna do is, "Hello, I'm an unattended child in this zone." Unless
Why
you
would
want to
you
be
do that?
theater hook dragged out and then have your parents beat you outside.
Yeah.
You wouldn't do that.
Well, the 18 plus content sort of war that we're going through is essentially the Attack on Titan wall, and they're the Titans. There you go.
But I just,
Sell it.
Then where's the genocidal man bun?
It's probably the adult you have to watch out for.
That's the sleeper cell. That's the genocidal man bun.
No, but I just
But I
wanna
mean,
point
like,
out,
you Oh, sorry.
going back to the whole, again, the cultural differences and contexts and everything, that in our video stores we didn't have the curtain. Like, it was there, it was on the top shelf,
Yeah.
but we could see it. And
You just
I
physically
remembered-
couldn't reach it. That's hilarious.
I just remembered it right now. I was like, oh wait, we didn't have because we're not so, yeah.
I love the idea of how do you get children to not read your porn? Put it on the top shelf. They can't get up there.
Neither can short
They
adults.
think. I've seen toddlers climb.
Okay, so funny story about me. I didn't hit 5 feet tall until I was 14 years old. I am very small. There was one time my grandfather found me on the top of the refrigerator as a toddler. I was just up there. I was just up there eating dry cereal.
Are you
And-
a cat?
What a mood. Good for you.
I was just up there fist, mouth, dry cereal. And I
Hanging out,
still
be like,
remember
yeah.
this. He looked up at me. He's like, "How'd you get up there?" And I shrugged. He's like, "Okay, you got up there. You'll get down."
Toddler magic.
Yeah, that's
Right, he's like-
I don't know.
Right. He's like, "You got up there. You'll get down."
Yeah,
That
I
is
have
the
a
most
niece.
black dad experience.
I've
Yes.
watched. I'm probably pretty close to, or I've gotten to see up close a lot of their experiences. I say they're sort of younger people because my niece is turning 22.
Ugh.
That makes me sound really old. My sister just had her early, but my niece, my niece is 22, so she was born in 2000. So
How is
I've
that even
seen.
legal?
Wait, which my sister's much older than me.
I know, it's just like, so I have a younger cousin who's like 18, 19 years old, and it's like,
Oh, yeah.
I was born in like 2002. Like, that doesn't feel right.
Yeah, I know.
That doesn't feel accurate, or
It
like,
makes you feel 50 when you're actually 30 something.
But
right,
also,
like kids being born in like 2009, 2010. It's like,
Meanwhile, 50-year-olds are laughing at us like, wait,
Yeah.
just wait.
right.
that is actually, that happens to me all the time. But it's like, how it makes me feel so old now because, literally everyone that you see on, like, in shows, all the actors, all the singers, they're all in their 20s. Everyone's younger than you, and you're like, I'm a dinosaur.
I am fossil. But yeah, it is interesting to have like that young person perspective. Because like, yeah, I have a younger cousin who lets me lend into this. One, everything is the 1990s, but you can't say it. Like, everything he wears and cares about is the 1990s, but if I say, oh, hey, you look like what I wore in school, it's like, no, it's different, it's visco. It's like, it's not. It's
visco.
It's limited to. It's the limited is what you're wearing.
It's the limited, it is.
Yeah, like you're not doing visco or soft boy. It's called old Abercrombie is what you're wearing.
Oh my god. Dark
It's
Hollister changing room.
Oh. I'm so triggered. Oh my god.
I know.
I'm
You
so
can smell
triggered.
it almost.
You know what? That's the
Never
void
owned
that you're
anything from
mimicking
theirs, I
is
just
those
think about it.
Hollisters. That Hollister was never well lit. It's just like the void that you have. But I am so in love with this conversation. Oh my god, we could do this for days.
I
So
know.
to put a bow on this, to really wrap this up, where do we go next? I don't think that there is an end to this, but there has to be a conclusion. And while I don't think that it is going to be a full-out war like Sharks versus Jets, I do feel like we are quickly coming to a head.
Well, let's talk about the actual problems that are sort of pressing,
Mhm.
and then what we know we can do, and then also acknowledge that, I mean, things change. Change is
They do.
nature. So,
Mhm.
I mean, we don't know how this is going to evolve. It could get worse. It could lessen.
This is-
We don't know.
True. True.
But I know, existential crisis. But
Mhm.
like, okay, things that are really pressing right now.
Mhm.
Targeting people who might depend on social media for their business, or they're an artist, this is how they make money,
Mhm.
or simply just the emotional ramifications of when
Mhm.
you're attacking people.
Mhm.
This dogpiling, the cancel culture,
Mhm.
without legitimate just cause of, if you're not a YouTuber who's being an actual pedophile or preying on minors, which is
Right.
a just cause, just because you
Yes.
drew Deku and I don't know, insert character, Bakugo or somebody, boinking on a piece of paper, it's just not the same thing
It is
as
not.
a YouTuber preying on a 14-year-old who's a groupie of some sort. This is not the same thing.
Correct.
So we have to deal with the ramifications of and protect ourselves for people who are unjustly dogpiled, and we have to sort of surround them and lift them up and make sure that they're okay and do what we can to sort of deal with it. One of the best things you can do, setting clear boundaries and maintaining clear boundaries, and also blocking. That would be blocking, and marking things as 18 plus. I have asked anti-shipper types, what is it that I could do to make you feel better? Because I exist. I'm going to have 18 plus content. I'm an adult and you are not an adult. So what is it that you would suggest me to do to make you feel better? And their answer has either been not exist or go behind a locked, a privated account. And I'm like, well, the privated account's not going to work because you have to approve people to get in. You cannot license check everybody who wants to get into your, it's not conducive.
Right, and people do lie.
They do lie. Also, that does not keep actual predators from preying on minors online. That doesn't stop them.
It do not.
Yeah, I mean, the white vans are still there. It's just we're existing elsewhere, and the white vans are going towards the kids. Like,
Right.
there was this recent tweet, of course, yesterday that said, oh, adults should comfort minors if they're talking about not safe for work stuff. And I was like, ew, no.
What?
First of all, not my job. That is somebody else's child. And I had a parent comment and say, I don't want somebody comforting my child. And I'm like, exactly.
I don't want to comfort someone's child.
Like, also, like, you don't want to comfort their child, but also, like, why are you sending adults to get closer and more intimate with minors? That's a giant red flag. Are you a minor? You don't sound like a minor.
Like,
so,
I think, I just want to just real quick comment on that. Like, obviously, if you are a trusted adult in that person's life,
it's different.
Sure, talk to them about things they see on the internet. And, you know, if you are a complete stranger, don't do that.
I mean, I was exposed to actual pornography media when I was very little. And because of somebody's, like, brother who had magazines or whatever. And, like, and I was
very similar over here.
Yeah, and I was, like, when I was a little kid, I was really deeply disturbed by it. Like, I like, told my grandmother who raised me, it was like, what do I do? Like, I can't stop thinking about that. It's weird.
Yeah.
And you know, you talk to a trusted adult, the exposure is going to happen in any which way, and there's different sort of culminations of it depending on the age group, you know. But having someone you trust who's close to you, who you know, not an adult you like talking to on the internet, that's not someone you're close to.
That
you don't know who that person is.
Yeah, that goes back to parasocial hell. But you're right.
Like, they really just don't know. It's like they haven't been taught because they've just been in it their whole lives and they were just thrown right in from the start.
No, you're absolutely right. And I hate that you brought up, but you're right. It could absolutely get worse first.
It could.
I hope it doesn't. I do wonder kind of like what the conclusion is. And I mean, it's hard to speculate because we are still very much in the thick of it right now. But I have seen more vocal pushback about saying this is bad. And I think that's really helpful because, again, you have normies on the outside saying, oh, well, this should be encouraged. They have good points. And it's like, but they're doing it bad. Like,
right. You know, I've seen anti-shippers with really valid points. And I'm like, that's okay. It's all right to have that. Just going about this in the wrong way.
And that is really the most, but that's truly where I've been the most flummoxed. Is like, y'all have good points. You do. There is a problem with the way minors exist on the internet. Yes, it was never meant for you. I'm sorry. It just wasn't. The way the internet is designed, it was never meant for you, and that sucks. It is not the job of adults to acquiesce to you, though.
Yeah, the only thing I think we can do is, and I had experience with this recently where I was it was a bad situation for me. I put 18 plus a lot in my social media, not because I necessarily have not safe for work stuff. I really don't have much these days. Like, I haven't really been retweeting much of, like, the porn or anything. The porn. But like, I do it because I'm an adult. I put 18 plus because I am an adult. And I hate putting my age because either someone wants to argue that I'm not actually that age or someone wants to use my age against me. And I'm like, you know what? This detracts from the point. Let me make clear, no matter what my age is, I am an adult. I am not under 18. So that's the big reason why I put that there. And I think that's something we have to start shifting and doing is you're not 18 plus and letting everyone know that my account is not 18 plus because it's not safe for work. It's 18 plus because I'm an adult and I want you to know that this is an adult space. It does not mean that there's porn here. It does not mean but the conversation might go a little bit higher than, you know, what you're used to. When I say that, I mean, like, occasionally I'll be like, yeah, I don't have any porn on here, but I'll slip and think, or slip and say, oh, jiggling titties or something, you know, and like, I'll talk about something not safe for work without thinking about it.
Right.
And
no, I really like that. Because, like, so I panel, and I enlist almost all of my panels as 18 plus. Not necessarily because the content is always explicit. Actually, almost never so. It's that I'm explicit.
Yeah.
I reference dicks.
You're an adult, and you're talking to adults.
Yeah, like, point. I swear, I talk about dicks. I talk about sex. Like, even if the content is not explicit, I am. And
Yeah.
I've absolutely done a panel that the content was not explicit, but the way I was feeling that day was extra spicy. And I had parents in that audience with their kids looking at me horrified
Oh my
because even though the topic was not 18 plus, I am.
Yeah. And that's why I put 18 plus, because like it tells parents too, hey, if you're walking in with your 9-year-old, I don't recommend it. Because you're gonna have to have a talk with them afterwards, and that's gonna be bad for everybody involved. Actually, it might be good for the 9-year-old, but that's parenting and that's your choice.
It's a social media equivalent of the parental advisory sticker on the CDs,
Kind of.
you know?
Basically, yeah. We're Adult Swim, basically.
Yeah. Oh my god. It's so yeah, we had another analogy to that on the old show where we analogize it to being on a cruise ship where I know I'm bougie, I'm sorry, I've been on multiple cruises.
No, I've been on them too. It's okay.
Like on a cruise, you usually have like your Adult Swim, like your grown and sexy night triggered every Black person in audience. There's usually like a grown and sexy night. And especially like on cruise ships, they don't really have a curfew. Like there's like midnight pizza and stuff like that. So like it is not super uncommon to see kids out, but it's uncommon. But if it's grown and sexy night in the pool and you try to get in the pool, no, like it is not going to be your job to flail around like, hello, I've infiltrated your space. Because again, you are going to get dragged out by your fucking scruff like a wet cat, and then your parents going to beat the shit out of you for detouring from getting midnight pizza.
Basically. So let's be real about this. Twitter's not doing anything. I'll use Twitter. Twitter's not doing anything about this immediately. You know, hopefully maybe later they either will add restrictions, but I mean, you can lie about your age. So, you know, maybe they could add markers that are like, you know, like the blue checks, but like adult marker. But, you know, if they're not going to do anything like that.
I can't wait for my adult marker. Fuck yeah.
But we can do it for now. We can make an adult, and we can spread this sort of trend that it's 18 plus because I'm an adult, not because, and this is an adult space, not because it's necessarily not safe for work. And keeping that adult space, making that adult space, maintaining it will help. Blocking on site, not interacting will help. When they have dog piles that are minor based, which really sucks, and they're mass reporting you, it's a problem. But if you try and set these standards up front, you're like, I am 18 plus, not because of not safe for work, but because it's an adult space, and you get somebody in there who's like, blah, 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 I'm a minor, you'd be like, you're not supposed to be in the space. Goodbye, you are the weakest link or whatever. And
ancient reference. Thank you, though.
I know. Dinosaurs, though. I'm in the presence of also dinosaurs. Younger dinosaurs than me. But
yeah, but we're all still fossils. You are correct.
Yeah. But, you know, that's one of the things we can do. Unfortunately, the dog piling and the cancel, I really don't have many good answers for that yet, except to support each other and try and set those sort of standards up at the front. Because I think I don't know if it's necessarily true. You should ask other 18 plus artists, not other, I'm not one, but like 18 plus artists or not safe for work artists. If you talk to them and see if they put a lot of these warnings up front, if they receive less attention and like minors, because I've seen minors automatically block some of these accounts. I have seen that. So if they receive less attention by putting all those warnings up front, or if it's just like a beacon in the night and they come streaming in like moths to a flame.
I wonder about that, because like I started following, like I have a secret Twitter.
Not really sure.
I started following more like explicit kink stuff because I've discovered new kinks, because that's what the internet does.
Well, yeah.
And like me, that just feels like a moth beacon. Like you're saying all these things, which means if I want to be outraged about this kind of content, you've flagged it. You've said it's here. I know who to shit on. Like, because I've definitely found a couple of new kinks. Thank you, Twitter. To me, while I appreciate that level of, you know, whistleblowing, because I know where to go, I know where my people are, you know, it's also, it just very much feels like a place to attack. And, you know, to put my spin on it, especially as a queer person of color, I spent a lot of my internet experience masking my, well, one, my queerness, and two, my Blackness.
Yeah.
Not just because I'm diaspora and African American and don't know what it means to be a Black, but because I knew of the harm that I could invite by opening up about that.
Yeah, that's true.
I knew the harm that I could invite by openly saying that I'm a part of this. To this day, I've been a cosplayer for over 10 years. I've been paneling for almost 10. The amount of white men that continue to tell me that I've been doing this for clout is astonishing.
Jeez. But yeah,
I am in the longest con game, if that is the case.
Going for the record, you're just like...
Yeah, I've been going for the record to just fake out white men. Because I've been in fandom for well over a decade. I've liked anime for about 20 years. I'm in it. I'm in it to win it, y'all.
Right? But these are the implications too, especially for fans of color. Can I say that? People of color, fans of color? Yeah, fans of color. Who, like, how do we protect them and how do we build them up? You know, that's another thing. That's like, what can we do for them when they fall prey to these sort of interactions too?
Yep.
Like, because like, my idea is just, put an adult tag on it and try and keep them away, but it's not necessarily, I can't say that it'll necessarily work. It's just all I know to do at this point. But like, from your standpoint, like, what should we do for you as well? Like, what helps you in this sort of space that you found yet that works?
You know what? I'll say this. So I did get canceled by guinea pig stands. That is a real true story. I was canceled by a woman who has too many guinea pigs and her thousands of fans. I wish I was joking. I wish it was all the other hot shit that came out of my mouth. But I was canceled by guinea pig stands. And it was very detrimental to my mental health. It was very detrimental to just my ability because I kept getting messages like, you're a horrible, spoiled person, and you're a miserable person, and you're a hater. And I wasn't even canceled that hard. It was mostly like old British women who were just saying that I was a nasty, mean little girl, which not false. But not false. But you don't want anyone else to say it. And to bring up someone else who's been canceled, two people actually, Natalie Wynn and Lindsay Ellis, have both echoed that point as well, is that they can handle it when they got canceled. They're fine. They're worried about, people like me, people like us who are queer, who have smaller audiences. And as far as like what we can do to protect each other, I think we need to go back to the old ways of when you see a ship that's flailing, you protect your brothers and your sisters and those in between. I think if you see it, you need to say something. And I think calling it what it is more on the outside is going to be what kills this pro-ship, anti-ship. Because I think what we've been doing is playing softball. I'm going to sound like BL influencer Joe Rogan for a minute, so give me a second. The worst possible title, BL influencer Joe Rogan. I think I feel like that needs to be a bumper sticker. Oh my god, I'm on it. I'm on it after I finish your diploma. But I think we need to call a spade a spade. I think when kids are dogpiling, I think when they're doxing, when they're throwing around pedo casually, we need to, I know Caesar Milan is super canceled. We need to and stop them. Because I think we're letting them do it because we're afraid. I'm not afraid anymore. If I see someone that I care about, or even someone I don't care about, be wrong, nah, fam, you are incorrect. I got into a Twitter fight with a very prominent YouTube comics creator because I called him out on his racism. I called him out on his neoliberal white race. Like, I called him out because he was doing the whole thing of like, oh man, I love speaking up for Black people. And I said, you're speaking over us. To which he said, he told me, he looked me in the eye and said, there are not enough Black comic creators out there. Bro, you're in Dallas. Open your eyes. I'm one of them. What you talking about?
I say that and I'm like trying to like time my response right because I don't want to talk over you.
No, you're good. Like, you're doing great.
No, like what was it? There was I don't know. Somebody said at one point, and it's true that these conversations that are being held or people of color talking, my voice, perspective, and opinion are not necessary in every conversation as a white person. And that's incredibly important. And a lot of people don't understand that. Like it's entitlement to feel like, oh, I need to say something. I need to contribute to this conversation. That's just entitlement. That's just white privilege. So
No,
people to learn that would help.
I appreciate that because I think, I've said it a million times. That is always to me the most aggravating thing about pro ship, anti ship is like, you guys are so close to something that's true. You're so close to something that is true and that we need to work on. But the way you're going about it just makes it awful. Like, you've turned something that could be a real valid conversation and you're perverting it into something, one, that is more than what it is. Let women like things. Because again, I don't see them yelling at men for liking lolly. I don't see them yelling at men for really anything that they do, because society doesn't yell at men for what they do, which has been a problem since check notes ever. Creation. It's yelling at queer people and women. When has that ever been the solution to anything?
I retweeted sexy artwork at some point. And it was semi-dark content. I really don't actually like that much dark content, but it was semi-dark. And somebody responded, "Oh, you need to be canceled for this. How could you like this? Yada, yada, yada." And I was like, okay, well, it's very easy for me to unretweet this, but why aren't you going to the person who created it? I'm just one of many who retweeted it. And they were very honest. They said, because I can approach you and I can't approach somebody with, like, I don't know, 100,000 something followers.
Yeah,
and I was
going
like,
after low-hanging fruit.
It's basically, yes, it's a low-hanging fruit deal, and it ends up being very anti-sex, anti-women, anti-queer, and then also at the same time is completely ignoring the people that we probably should be talking about.
No, you're right. Like, it does sound like that thing in a lot of spaces where we're not punching up, we're punching down.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm mind blown at this moment because I never really thought about it that way. But that's all it is. We should be punching up. There is a discussion about sexualization of minors in media, in all media.
Huge, also, especially in Japanese media.
I want to say, before we wrap up, that is something also that I think is so important of this conversation, is where we see it. And it's mostly talking about Asian media. If you kids aren't having this conversation about Marvel, I don't give a fuck about what you have to say. If you aren't having this conversation about Riverdale, about Sabrina, about whatever.
About Twilight.
If you kids are not bringing the same level of energy to Steven Universe, to all of this shit, I don't want to hear you. Because my least favorite conversation in the anime BL yaoi space is like, there is no representation of people of color. We don't get represented in America.
Yeah. There's massive lack of representation pretty much everywhere.
Right. You know what? Valid. Japan does not represent a lot of black people.
And they haven't done a great job of doing so historically, so.
Right. How many black people are in Japan?
Yeah. Right.
Let's go count. I promise you it's not that many. We don't get it in the US. Y'all need to bring this level of energy to everything. If you're going to say this about fucking bad anime dads, you need to say that about every other TV show. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. No. I want you to keep going with the energy.
I get so fucking heated. I am fueled by 8 ounces of espresso and the burning light of 1,000 dying stars.
Also a bumper sticker.
Also a bumper sticker.
No, I mean, but like, okay, these kids, they want to make change. That's what they think they're doing. Okay, all right. You're not changing anything. You're not changing anything. This isn't helping. You're not changing. Let's have a come to Jesus moment, or, come to whatever you want to say. You're not making a difference. Here's how you make a difference. Punch up. It's harder, but you clearly have done some work, like when you storm various politicians' ticket sales. Like, you clearly can do this.
I thought you were going to go with I thought you were going to go with an insurrection joke, and I was like, I was like, are we? And not that I would ever censor comedy, because I don't believe in that.
Oh, it's because I was like, storm, isn't it? Oh my god! I just realized that.
making insurrection jokes? Is that where we are?
No, I meant the politicians' ticket sales where they buy out all the tickets and then no one
Oh my
shows
God,
up. That
yeah.
thing.
Like whatever K-pop Twitter did for that, I
Yeah.
need
It was
that level
brilliant.
of energy.
That's
For
what we
everything.
need.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I was
That's what we need.
my
No,
brain
I'm
was like,
sorry. I said storm. I
no,
used the wrong word.
you're good. I was just like, are we really, can we
I'll
make
use
insurrection
flood.
jokes?
Flooding is
Yeah.
better.
I was just shocked. So it's like, oh shit, yeah, we did have a whole ass insurrection. Because, we've been
If I
gaslit
make a
by
joke about that, it's trauma. But like,
we have been gaslit by the media to think that it wasn't that big of a deal. So it wouldn't be shocking if we joked about it. Because,
No,
it
seriously.
barely happened. Nothing. It wasn't a big deal. It was.
But-
But you know that
Yeah.
it's a coping technique, you know?
Yeah,
laugh
it
about
is.
because it was freaking horrible.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
why we're laughing
yeah.
about like CVID. So like, like,
But,
like,
you're right. We need to teach them to punch up. Like, again, there's a valid conversation in here. We do sexualize minors in media everywhere, not just Japan.
so we need
Everywhere
to punch up, not punch
Yeah.
down on individuals who cannot change it.
Right. And also, yeah, I love that you said cannot change because, okay, you're angry. Now what?
Yeah, you're angry. How are you actually making change? You want to change
Right.
things. I know you want to change things because I was the same way before I went into government, and then I saw it was all pointless, and I stopped. Depression.
Valid.
Valid though, yeah.
But now it's a different situation, so it may actually not be impossible. But like,
True.
you want to change something. Okay, well, this is not it. It's not actually helping. You may you feel good, and then that's a whole nother conversation about performative action.
Yes.
They think they're they think they're making change. They're just performing amongst themselves, or they're delusionally
It's
thinking
really
they're changing.
Yeah, it is a lot of performative activism. Like, I remember, in the old days on YouTube when people are like, we hate feminists. Like, no, you hate a certain kind of feminist. Well, I mean, you hate women. Let's be real. You hate women. That's the real answer.
Yeah,
But
there's very big swaths of like anti-women groups within the queer community.
there are, but I remember when people had to like try to have real, use air quotes, conversations about that weren't just people who hated women, because realistically a lot of that anti-feminist rhetoric is you hate women. That it was about, okay, that's an okay point. Maybe, that's valid, but also it was a very specific type of person that you're talking about that does not represent the larger community. And you see that a lot in like white, frankly, like white leftist spaces.
Yep.
It's just this aggressive circle jerk where, it's like, we stand for all these rights. Just kidding. Not really. And they're all just like patting each other on the back.
Yeah.
And it's like, but you didn't do anything. You haven't. What agenda have you progressed? You've sat here jerking each other off for the last 3 hours, but you accidentally misgendered 20 people in the process.
Yeah.
Like, what have you accomplished?
And then there's the rampant gatekeeping.
We don't have time. It's literally been 2 hours. Do not have time to talk about that. But okay.
See what I mean? Junk box. It's a junk box.
It's literally
It's on fire.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's a flaming junk pile in the
Dumped
middle
on
of
your
the
coffee
living room.
table.
Yeah, it is the middle of the
Or
living
couch or
room. It
whatever
is
you
on
have.
fire, and we don't know what to do about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Host brain is back.
But trying to adult space. That's one of the only suggestions I have currently, because right now I'm just kind of like unsure shrugs. I try to keep it an adult space and make them know that, and then be there for the people who are going through difficult times currently.
Yeah. I think honestly that's good advice.
That's why I try to tweet out, I'm trying to make an effort to keep my tweets clean, concise. And when I say clean, I don't mean not safe for work. I mean like prompt,
Yeah.
like easy to read.
You're really good at that, actually.
Oh, good. I've
I
gotten
think you're
better
amazing
at it.
at
It's
it.
taken years. Because I walked into graduate school and I was using a lot of big words, and my literal advisor said, "Are you trying to sound smart?" And I was like, every member of my family was so much older than me that I've been talking like this since I was in elementary school. Like, my grandmother raised me. Like,
I just had that conversation with my aunts because I got home for Christmas and I was using like the normal terminology that I use, and my aunt was like, "You don't have to talk like that around us." And it's like, "But you made me. You sent me.
yeah.
You sent me to
Your
school.
fault.
Yeah, like you sent me to school to a liberal arts Catholic college. What did you expect? That I was obviously going to come home gay as fuck, and that I'm going to use big words. You did this. You made me.
I had a boss once who said to me that I spoke too smart, is his words, and that it made people uncomfortable. It made them feel dumb. And I was like, I'm really sorry about that. I don't know how else to talk. So I just started not talking, basically, until I could figure out how to change my speech.
Oh my god.
But now that I've I
triggered in black woman speech. Sorry.
Oh god.
Utterly triggered in black woman professional speech where I am told all the time that I sound angry because I am educated. And if someone else says you talk white, do you have synesthesia? Can you see text? What do you mean?
Yes, hi.
It's like the first time I heard you talk white, I was like, do you have synesthesia? Like, what are you talking about? That's not how language works. And then, code switch. I speak educated. Which, sure.
Which women of color are like disproportionately affected by. As soon as they sound, quote, and I'm making air quotes because obviously I'm a black void on here, or just a void. I'm a void. I'm not. Yes. I'm a void. Sorry.
Backpedaling is my favorite Olympic sport.
We're very good at it.
We're experts.
God, but air quotes. As soon as a woman of color, like a black woman especially, sounds, quote, too smart, then immediately, oh, she's angry. So shut the fuck up, sit down.
I've had such an amazing time. Okay.
Oh, but my point was that I'm trying to make tweets that will help minors that might be lurking as well. What can you do instead of and I ask people to try and do this instead of just talking about what's wrong. We know what's wrong. We know. Yeah, we know.
Yep.
On fire, we know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Talk about what we can do. Provide suggestions. We need to start providing things to try. And if they don't work, they don't work. But we need to try something, and we need to start talking about what to try. That was my point.
I think that's amazing.
If I could just piggyback off of that and, backpedal a little to when we were talking about, we know these things. We've had these discussions. I think one of the things that we see a lot is that people who actually have the knowledge, who have the academic background, academics and scholars and people like us, hobby scholars who have read a lot and who have been around a lot, are providing resources and are providing, evidence for or against something, or documented studies on what is being discussed. Please utilize those resources instead of just dismissing them as pro-ship propaganda, again, in air quotes, because this is how we learn. Because like I said, we do grow. Like, we've all been, that kid on the internet who thought they knew everything. And
I am still that kid on the internet.
Yeah, and I am hoping that, absolutely agreeing to everything that Aries said, but I also hope that a lot of people will kind of grow into themselves over the coming years.
And that's very possible. Yeah. It happens all the time.
Because we do see the people who are coming out and speaking up against, the, again, air quotes, cult of, anti that they're talking about what it was like and what made them think that way and why they have changed their minds. And I absolutely think that there's a possibility that things can turn around just by this movement, becoming more aware of what it is that they are actually fighting against, that educating oneself is so important. And just taking those resources and using them.
The last thing
I agree. Yes.
The last thing that I have to say about that is Googling shit is not research.
No, it is not.
It's not research. You can say that you're trying to inform yourself, learn, educate yourself, and I don't want to put words in your mouth. I'm trying to give you language that might help convey your point better. I'm a fucking thesaurus. But Googling is not research. Research requires a lot more. I have spent countless hours. I am a shelf gremlin. I have no life. I am a shelf gremlin. I have put in hours of studying. I have to go through actual training. I wish more actual scholars paid attention to it because we have problems there. But I've gone into the training, the ethical training of this is how your participants should be treated. This is what you need to do with very sensitive information that involves other people's lives. There's a lot that goes into research, hours and years of study and training and work, not an hour of Googling.
And not something that you heard regurgitated by one person. The amount of people that try to girl boss their way through ContraPoints is hilarious. And they think they got it, but they don't got it.
Not a graphics off of Twitter. Like,
please. You know what? I'll throw in some of my resources that I use for research in the Discord. The one that comes to mind is Electric Geisha, which is about eroticism in Japan. And that was a very, very transformative book for me early on in my research. Because I was trying to understand why Japan be so horny, and Electric Geisha. I mean, as a Westerner looking at Japan, like, why you sexualize boat?
Why you sexualize? Please make me that sticker, please. I beg you, because then I just think about I touched the butt, in Finding Nemo.
It's like what? Why you sexualize that boat? Like, what is
but that makes me think of. That makes me think of if you saw the panel that I did together with Michi of Very, Very Bad Girls and Risa of Fujoshi Things that we did at FujoCon, where we talked, and also I believe we did it at KasaCon, where we talked about the moe, and they had that story. There's a story about the road and the cars driving over it and how it entices moe. That's what I think of when you talk about the boat like that.
Okay. Yes, I will make a why you sexualize that boat sticker. But okay.
Because it's cute.
Carola knows what I've been working on for Patreon. And she's been very jealous of some of the stuff that y'all are getting, which is a shameless plug that I will reinsert later. That sounded dirtier than I was expecting.
It's perfect for Yaoi Shelf.
That was way dirtier than I was expecting.
Plug it.
You can't throw this. I'm going through some serious caffeine shock right now. Like, I feel like I'm dying. And then you come here with your... Yeah, okay.
It's been a great time. Ari, you have been, honestly, for our first co-host, for our first guest, you have been an absolutely just captivating, magnetic, and just void, yes.
ADHD tangent monster.
Let me wax philosophic. Just fantastic guest. Thank you so much. You are insightful, intelligent, and way more empathetic than the episode if we did it, which would just be, kids, shut the fuck up.
And we'd probably do it on an inappropriate day, because that's generally what we do. We keep putting
I have to check what today is, because we did talk about bad trans stuff on Trans Visibility Day, and we talked about bad mental health stuff on like Mental Health Day. So I need to check what day it is. I know. I'm concerned.
And I burned through a lot of topics. I don't know.
Yeah, that's concerning. We did burn through a lot of topics today.
I hope that it ended up making sense, because I think that we're all on the same page, and we get carried away, and we don't you go off on a tangent and then don't finish like your main point. But I think
we bookended everything.
Yeah, I think I really appreciate how succinct Ari is, and that you kind of grounded this episode. I really appreciate that you wanted to hang out with us and just. While we're out here wilding, that you just...
I promise you, if it was us to have this episode, we would just be like, shut up, kids. Okay, so...
Oh, no.
There is one day that this is.
Oh, no.
And it is Appreciate a Dragon Day, and we did talk about dragon fucking. So...
Well, we do appreciate dragons.
Yeah,
if we're,
unless dragons are offended by their rampant sexualization in media, which I have not consulted. I think we're clear.
I think the One Dragon Kin group is going to find you.
Oh, fuck. You know what? Bring it on. I'd love that shit. I've been fighting my whole life for this. Let's go.
Let's hope they're 18 plus.
I hope they're. Oh fuck, you're right.
But we
So
are.
yes,
So
if
this is
they
the
have
time
to
to
be.
start learning. We are
Yes,
18 plus, so cultivate your feed, people.
Yeah, but
absolutely.
again, adult space, adult swim.
Adult space. Yes,
18 plus doesn't mean not safe for work. It just means that I'm an adult
it
with
usually
an
means
adult
that for us,
space.
though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It
maybe
means
we'll
that for
talk.
us. There's a lot of dicks.
Yeah, but it doesn't even have to be that. Maybe we'll talk about taxes. You never know. I don't
Yeah,
know
I
anything
mean,
about
we
that.
are
Okay.
boring adults who are supposed to be have kids and pay taxes and make sandwiches, right?
Yeah, I don't really know when they say touch grass. I've been outside. It's not that great. I have allergies.
I think a lot of it's
Eric,
projection.
it is.
It snows here 10, like what, 9, 10 months out of the year. What
That's
grass?
true.
Yeah, you don't
Yeah.
even have grass. Ari, would you like to tell our audience if there's anything that you are working on that you'd like to, pimp out while you have a rapt audience?
Well, my deepest apologies to the dragons. And at this moment, what I'm doing is I've done a lot of research and
Mhm.
I still do some on the side, especially, tracking
Mhm.
BL fans' experiences with the BL Fan
Mhm.
Project, and there's the blfanproject.com. What I'm trying to sort of shift over to doing is highlighting other scholars, students, and fans'
Mhm.
work to try and get more voices because I don't need to be the only one speaking, especially if you're a person of color,
Mhm.
contact me, share your stuff with me. I like to amplify it and share it.
Mhm.
You can always find me on Twitter at, twitter.com. I have the _ Queerioes spelled a little
Mhm.
bit differently. They'll have that on Yaoi Shelf, obviously, you all will.
Oh,
And
well.
honestly, 21 and 2022 have really been me making it about me. So I'm doing my BL work, but I'm also I've shifted over to writing over the last couple of years. So I've been writing
Mhm.
romance and erotica, and
Yes.
and then also I decided this year to take on VTubing, but it's
Hell
not,
yes.
Ooh.
it's not really a character VTube like some of them. It's really just me with an avatar essentially, and I
Mhm.
still talk about a lot of this stuff. So if you want to watch me play video games and talk about this, because I need to do more than one thing at once.
Okay, but
That's what my
that
VTubing
honestly sounds amazing. I would watch the fuck out of that. That sounds fantastic. Yeah, we'll link all of your stuff obviously in description and in show notes. Um I'm just my mind is blown. I feel like I need a cigarette after all that hot brain sex.
Ooh.
Uh
Ooh.
I don't smoke. I do have the asthma.
It's all that dragon talk.
Yeah, it's all that smutty dragon talk. Fun fact, that fic was from the My Hero Academia fandom.
Of course
Of
it
course
was.
it was.
Of course
Wait,
it
who is
was.
the
Yeah,
dragon?
Kirishima, right?
yes. Yes. He was the dragon.
I guessed. Right. Do I get a
You
prize?
the prize is rebirth by dragon fucking.
Oh, I'm so happy. I I don't want to be reborn into this
True. I would like to exit the
garbage.
cycle. The Yaoi Shelf is on Patreon. If you would like to give us money, that is great. And our patrons, if you do join the track for patron merch, we have some really, really cool things coming out. Obviously you guys don't have to physically support us, but it does really help and shows us how much you care. That sounded really passive aggressive. I'm not editing it out. This
You never
this
edit
is
Give me
anything
your
out,
money if you
dude.
care. You want to make a difference? Give me money.
that's the real leftist agenda that we need to be pushing. If you want to show us you care, give me your money.
We're
Here
just
is my
gonna
Venmo.
We're just gonna keep that audio recording of Aries saying that and just put it at the end
At the end of every episode. I don't. I'm
Please.
over. I'm over white people saying that they want to speak for us or with us. I just
I'm
want your
so
money.
sorry.
I just want
Yeah,
your
I mean-
cash. Not even with you. I mean, just like in general. I am so tired of that. No more white people saying you march with us. Nah, fam. Here is my cash app. That's how you repay us.
I think that's fair. If I
Yeah.
had a cash app,
I say do it.
I've done it a few times. This is where we thank our patrons. Thank you to Carme, Jay, Lauren, and Jamie. Thank you so very much. You can join them and be super cool if you go to patreon.com/the Yaoi Shelf. Carola, would you like to tell the audience what we are covering next month?
We are talking about guilty pleasures.
Yes.
Oh, fuck,
Yeah.
count me in.
We are. We're specifically our guilty fanfic pleasures.
Oh my god. Please.
I'm gonna have to,
Yeah, it's gonna be a little stressful for us, but that's
I'm
okay.
having a crisis about that, but it's okay.
You're already having a crisis over our Patreon exclusive episode, so it's just gonna be a lot of crises.
We're gonna, yeah.
We're just in a state of perpetual crisis. Again, thank you.
Crisis. Yeah.
We are gay crises. Again, thank you to Ari for being here. It was a joy and a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Y'all are so sweet.
Oh my god. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Yeah.
Bye.